are rolling to where else we going? Ghana and Ivory Coast in November, as well as Sierra Leone in November, and then we're going to Benin in January for the Voodoo Festival. So if you're interested in joining, please visit Africa. And while you're there, click on documentary. Again, click on documentary. And buy the documentary. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. We have a special guest on with us today. Nakira. Did I say it right? Did I say it right? No, Nakira. Nakira. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I butchered your name. I'm sorry. Everyone, we have Nakira on with us today, and we're going to be speaking on, gotta meant well. Okay, I think they meant well. But on Juneteenth, they did this slavery reenactment. And see, what bothers me about it, like Juneteenth here in America, we don't do no slavery reactments. It was just very tacky, if you ask me. You know, they had the roots going on with, you know, that they had black folks dressed up as a slave master and just whipping folks, and it was bad. I didn't like it. And you know me, I've never really been a big fan of the slave dungeons, but you know, after seeing this slavery reenactment, it was just, and happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the daddies. Happy Father's Day. Can we get a round of applause? Here we go. Can we get a round of applause to all the good dads, all the great dads? Okay, and no, we ain't celebrating. You know, I'm happy. I have not seen any posts with the I'm a single mother, so I'm gonna celebrate Father's Day for the single mothers. Nah, okay, it's Father's Day. We'll celebrate you on Mother's Day. All right. So happy Father's Day to the to the dads out there. But let me pull this video up. But this was just, it was tacky. I didn't like it. And now there's a push for, you know, the Caribbean countries and all the African nations to push for reparations. And I'm still interested to see how that looks like, but let me pull up this footage. But it was I didn't like it. Here we go. Here it goes right here. Oh, it's just bad. Here we go. Of our children and the best of our women. What do you need our women for?
Our voices were fragmented for decades, and it served the interests of some groups to keep those voices fragmented. The slave trade affected all of us.
/80/L48 is adopted.
We did what was right for the memory of the millions who suffered the indignity of the slave trade and those who continue to suffer racial discrimination. Let our vote on this resolution restore their dignity and humanity.
Our daughter is full of mischief and politicism.
Everyone, welcome to Kyra G. Everyone, hold on, let me give you a round of applause real quick. Hold on, round of applause. There we go. There we go.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, your mic is loud and it's kind of echoing just a little bit.
Okay. How is it now? How is it now? How is it now?
I'm just gonna turn down my volume. All right, go ahead.
No. How is it now?
No, you good. You good. I just got to turn down my volume. Your mic is strong.
Okay.
You got a strong mic.
Well, because
That's
last
good.
time it was not that good, so I had to do better.
So, Nakara, go ahead and introduce yourself. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi guys, I'm Nakira G, also known as Griot of the Diaspora. I have my own YouTube channel and things like that. This is our third conversation. So
Yeah,
yeah,
either second or third. Is it?
I think third.
I think third. Okay.
Because Sierra
Okay.
Leone was the first one,
Mhm.
and then delineation or diaspora
Right,
unity.
right. It's third. It's third. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the third. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming back. Don't be a stranger.
So, how are you feeling? I mean, I know you said you feel like it was tacky and
Well, I was gonna ask you that. Like,
okay, okay.
what are your? I just think it was the timing was wrong, and it was just it was on Juneteenth, and like I don't see no black folks doing Juneteenth slavery reenactments. I I think it was tacky.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. I think is there a conversation that needs to be had with Ghana's education on slavery? Yes. But the way that it went down, I'm still not really trying like understanding what the point was because it was also like at a summit, I believe. This was like for the reparations summit. So there's a bunch of foreigners, particularly white people. And even in the video, you see like people just like walking past and walking by. Like I was just really disturbed. I don't know. And yeah, of course, the date. I mean, I feel like that goes unsaid. The date makes it obviously
Yeah.
horrible. Even if it wasn't on that day, I do still think that the way that it was done and when, like, there's so many other opportunities, I think, in Ghana's tourism to do a little bit better in the education. But reenacting it this way, that is something that is a part of the culture, I will say, reenacting certain things. Like that's something I've seen before. I've gone to events where they have reenacted certain big moments that have happened in their history. So I know that that's also kind of just like a part of the culture in a lot of ways. But yeah, it it was interesting.
So now I want to pull up now. This is like in sharp contrast. So I want to pull up what black Americans in Ghana what they were doing for Juneteenth. Let me pull this up real quick.
What's up? What's up? Dre Taylor here. Got my boy Telly who put on Ghana's first sport family union. Mr. Jerk Soul himself. I'm out here, slaving on the grill for my people. That's what I do. You know what I mean? So got my own homemade barbecue sauce. I got the potatoes. I got the corn. I got the chicken wings. You know what I mean? On point. Doing what we do out here. It rained all day. My boy Diallo, he was on the grill. EJ was on the grill. My cousin playing chest. You know what I mean? It rained the whole entire time, but we made the best out of it. We had a good turnout out here. Good food, good people, everything. You know what I mean? The jams are flowing. DJ Sirius had it going, so played all the cuts we listened to. They did a special shout out to fathers on Father's Day. So shout out to all those men out there. You know what I mean? The women pay some respect. For us fellas out here, I've been called daddy a couple times, but I don't even get into all that. But yeah, we had a good time, good music, good food, good vibes. People from all over the states here just coming together. We don't do it often. When we do get together, having a great time out here in Ghana. Like I said, first family reunion out here in Ghana. It's good times, good vibes, good people. And like I said, we're going to make the best out of the situation. Like I said, it's Dre Taylor, and I'm out the Beyond.
So the black Americans in Ghana and Accra, we cooking and grilling for Juneteenth. The Africans, they're doing slave reenactments. I don't think they consulted Black Americans on like what actual Juneteenth is and what we do?
Well, I think that's a part of the discussion that a lot of people kind of don't see is because there's a variety of different things going on in the Black American community when it comes to Ghana's government. I'm sure you know Dr. Kambone. He's been very vocal about wanting diaspora representation in the Diaspora Affairs Office of the government because the Diaspora Affairs Office in the government of Ghana is specifically for the Ghana diaspora, right? So we
Right,
don't
right.
have representation, nor do we have representation in like the U.S. Embassy and those types of So this is yeah, the consultation thing that happens, I think is a little bit deeper. I don't know if we really want to talk about that on live,
No, no,
but
no, no, no. Listen, let's talk about it. Let's jump into it. Go ahead.
no, I mean, I think that there are people who have relationships with the Ghana government, just like there are people who have relationships with the dungeons. There are Black Americans, particularly Black Hebrews, who are participating in giving the tours at the dungeon. That has been something very popular. A lot of the American celebrities that have come to Ghana have been given a tour by, particularly like the rabbi in the Black Hebrew Israelite community out there in Cape Coast. So there are people who have sort of these, relationships with the government of Ghana. I think that it's also just like the people who are there are not a part of necessarily that council.
Okay. Guys, hit the like button again. Please hit that like button. There's we have a caller in the back chat or in the waiting room. We're gonna bring Meech the innovator. Go ahead with your question. Meech the innovator.
My bad. Can you hear me?
Hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting topic. Big fan of us connecting with our African roots, but I also want feeling this reenactment. I got mixed feelings about it because I think we played the video. Some of the context made it make sense for me. I'm like, okay, this is y'all way of expressing that. I do feel like if Black American voices were centered more, we could have shaped that situation a lot differently. Like even if they were going to do some type of historic reenactment, we might have shifted it to a slave revolt or something like that. So I think the biggest issue with it is just the lack of them centering Black American voices and lived experience. Uh, like in their programming. I think that's really the biggest issue. But from the context, from what they were saying, I don't see an issue with what they were saying with their point. I just think it came across a little tone deaf in terms of centering our voices. But I will say, in terms of what we do on Juneteenth, are you familiar with the Whitney Plantation?
No, I'm not. No.
So Whitney Plantation in Louisiana, they've had several years now. They do Juneteenth on an actual slave plantation
Hmm.
in South Louisiana, and it's not just in Louisiana. Out in Charleston, South Carolina, across the South, there are Black people that have like purchased land. There used to be a plantation, and they're saying they want to preserve it for historical reasons and to protect our history and to like, how Black people talk about reclaiming the N word. There are Black Americans that want to reclaim plantation culture.
How you can't reclaim the N word. The N word is gone.
I
And
agree. I
if
agree.
that
I'm just
means,
saying it's in the
yeah.
culture, like
Okay.
among Black Americans. So when we have like this flattening of like Black identities, I think that's kind of problematic because we got to look at what Black Americans, Africans are talking to, because we do have those Candace Owens, Kanye West type Black Americans who are also the face of our culture. And they sometimes are heard more than those of us proud Black Americans that want our culture handled a certain way, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Nakara, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think also too, it's like kind of like what Meech is saying that we already have these tourist attractions that in my opinion, we haven't really reconciled with. There's already kind of like this behavior in the heritage tourism factory, whether it's in America or it's in West Africa. I think in general, like when we talk about just like the reenactment is one thing, right? Because it's for the summit and things like that. I do think that this would have been a completely different conversation if this was like at the University of Cape Coast and this was something that was like a presentation for the students. Like, I think that the environment definitely matters. And that's kind of like my biggest thing with it. But I do get what you're saying, Meech, too, because it's like we already have this relationship with the plantations and things like that where we still haven't reconciled on if this is even okay or not. So, I think all of it together is something that, we as um, the diaspora and particularly Black Americans, especially when it's on our soil, like we definitely should probably have more conversations about some of these tourist attractions and who gets to own them and blah, 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 because that leads into who's invited in the conversation.
For sure. I agree.
Okay. Go ahead, Skywalker. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Greetings to the panel. Interesting topic, Dynast. I think it was kind of. I found myself laughing a little bit. Then I had to stop because, I mean, this is our history, and I don't want to be her laughing at the ancestors, but because of the, I guess I don't know. It was kind of, I guess, corny. I guess
It was corny. It
was corny. Yeah, I mean, that's what it was. And but I get it. I mean, I still applaud them for trying to acknowledge the horrible history. But I mean, but what really got to me, if anything, were the Black colonial guard. So I'm like, man, what's this? Like,
I mean,
what I mean?
maybe they couldn't find any white ones maybe to play. So
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, they could find plenty of white people to do everything else in Africa. They can't find ones to act like the colonial masters, right? But I guess that's what it is. But I'm all for the like I don't know about this kind of like this Ghana leading the reparation thing, and I'm cool with it. It's just I don't know, man. Like I think a lot of times African Americans, when we get into this reparations talk, we constantly talking about money. In my opinion, Ghana could solve the whole reparations thing themselves just by giving African Americans a bunch of land or giving the diaspora a bunch of land, right? You know what I'm saying? The African Union could solve the whole reparations thing themselves just by saying, we're sorry for the role we played in slavery. We understand the role that the white people played, but just for the little role that we played in it, here's 6 million acres of land. You guys go there, set up a nice nation of the diaspora, call it diasporia or something, right? And see if we can help unite the African continent or whatever. Because all this other crap is nothing but tokenism to me. It's nothing but symbolism and tokenism, and asking for reparations in the form of money is even more crazier, right? You're asking for reparations in the form of money that you're going to have to give right back to the people who own all the means of production and all the means of everything. So it's just strange to me. But I commend them for trying to, do what they do. But like I say, it's always some type of puppet scheme, some type of Oz, Wizard of Oz behind the curtains, kind of trying to, controlling a lot of these things. But I land there.
okay. All right, go ahead, Em. Unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask a question for both the host and the guest, and also I would like to give a comment afterwards, if that's cool. Okay, the question is, do y'all think that Africa has some type of sadomasochistic dominatrix type relationship, or they want that to be with us? Like, if you really think about it, usually when they talk about us, it's like a time warp, and it's just a certain sector of time, which is slavery. They never really see like the growth in us. So do you think it's some type of dominatrix, sadomasochistic relationship between us and them?
I don't follow you, man. Nicole,
I mean, as far as like,
I don't. You just dominate.
Okay.
I'm thinking some weird shit now. You're talking about some domination.
It's like some type of sick fantasy they have. Like, it's always like you look at the video you showed, they're moaning on the ground. Like, what type of it's like a serial killer. When I watch serial killer shows or whatever, they get some type of pleasure by seeing somebody suffer, and it's like they stuck. Or sometimes they say the serial killer, he'll record it and just go back and look at the videos, or like the Diddy, he got the videos, and when he get off at going back looking at the videos, so it's like this time, this
Why
this
are you
fun
bringing
time.
in sexual stuff in this conversation, man?
So M, are you saying that like they get off on watching that
That's
type
what
of
I'm
stuff?
saying. I mean, I'm asking a question. Like, why is it always that time period when the transatlantic slave trade getting loaded on the boats, the suffering? We done a lot since then. We didn't. Well, I guess that's the question. But the commentary I wanted to have was because in America we kind of had closure. Like when we do slave movies, even carry it with the Cynthia Erivo lady, right? It's always the whole.
Do we have closure? I know you ain't got closure, M.
That's what I'm saying. We had the Civil War. We was able to battle the slave masters and then get revenge, like in the Bible. Like it's like a whole story. Like even Django, you got the beginning. He started off as a slave. In the end, he blew up the house and took the woman and got free. We usually tell a complete story, but when you show the video, it's just stuck there. They don't really tell the story, even though you might say. And the comment I wanted to make was, do you think we have to get closure from Africans just like we got it from the white man as far as like on the battlefield? We have to go back. It's like when you watch the movie Goodfellas, it's that scene, one of my favorite scenes, the mobster got out of jail. He saw Joe Pesci character, and he still saw him as a kid running errands. He said, I'm a grown man now. It's like they can't see that we a grown man now, and usually if they saw you in a certain way, you got to put them down for them to respect you. And we never really had that war with Africans. Like we got the guy come on here. Go ahead. I ain't gonna be babbling. Go ahead.
All right, Nakara, you wanna take this one, Nakara?
I'm still trying to figure out
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
question or the commentary.
Well, I
Or
think the question is, do the president of Ghana, when he was in the other Ghanaians who were watching the slave reenactment, were they like kind of, I don't want to use the word getting off because that's just were they
enjoying,
excited?
I guess.
Were they enjoying? Yeah, was it exciting to them? That's
Like what is the point of keep showing that sector of time? Like when you look at mathematics, you could actually just break down a certain portion
I hear you.
of a wave, and you just focus just on that. And it's like I'm looking at what is the function of it. Is this something they just enjoy? Is it like a disrespect, a slight? Like what is it has to be some purpose for them to just always constantly focus on that aspect of our history.
Okay, so when you say they always focus on that aspect of the history, what are like those examples?
Okay, I called yesterday about the architecture. Well, I don't know if that was yesterday or not. And I mentioned the architect David Adjaye, and he was commissioned to do the Smithsonian African American History Museum. And he said the purpose of his design had to do with honoring the people that was enslaved, that was iron workers. So it's like the same constant motif when we're dealing with the conversation with Africans. It always somehow go back to slavery. It's like they can't get over it for some reason. Then they say we the ones can't get over it. I'm like, you're the one constantly interjecting this into the conversation. We done a lot of more than just slavery, But I just see the constant motif. They always bringing it back to like the slave days.
Dynast, can you go? I need to formulate my thoughts.
No, I mean, but I don't agree with him because there was a whole year of return, and I don't think the year of return was focused on just slavery.
Well, to be fair, the year of return was based off of 1619 to 2019. So the idea of it was the 400 years, but it did go quote unquote beyond that. Now, to some people, it did not. But to be fair, we kind of made it more than just that. To be fair, I don't think what was offered to us was more than just visiting the slave dungeons. I think we as Black Americans made the year of return what we wanted to make out of it, just to be fair.
Dynast, one more thing. You just reminded me of what I wanted to say before I called up.
All right.
Why do we allow them dungeons to exist? Why are they holding on to them? That's what I'm saying. Like, what is the purpose of holding on to them dungeons? I think they're getting off.
Well, I would say this. I'm not really a big fan of the dungeons, but I mean,
They should be destroyed.
well, it's tourism. It's tourist attraction. I mean, they bring in
Money
revenue.
for them. For them. They getting money off of. It's like a Auschwitz. If Auschwitz still existed, and the Germans paying Jews to go. I mean, the Jews paying
Well,
Germans to go visit Auschwitz.
they do have a Holocaust museum over in Auschwitz or over in Europe. They
I
do
mean,
have
the slave. I'm talking about the concentration camp. They going to go look at the ovens and all of that.
you,
I
you
ain't gonna
can.
keep taking all the time.
You can. They have a museum where you could go look at the ovens.
But Dynast, let me come in here, please.
I mean, but M, do you understand that, M? They do have that.
I mean,
For the
yeah.
Holocaust.
Is
There's-
it actually Auschwitz though? We have
Before-
museums with
one second,
pictures.
before Elvis goes,
It's
before
just
we,
Treblinka.
one second, M. Before Elvis goes, I just wanted to respond to the comment that you made. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't know if you were in here, and Meech also said it as well, where he was talking about like we as Black Americans also have a relationship with like plantations being a part of like tourist attractions, wedding venues. People get married on them, not even Black people, right? Like so the question that you're asking, I think is valid. I think but I do think that it's a question that can be asked to us as well because the first time I went to the dungeons, I definitely was like, okay, but I don't understand why it's still here. Like I feel very similar to you, especially the way that it's being managed and the way that UNESCO is more so um, also has a hold on it, as well as like the local chiefs in the area has some type of jurisdiction over the dungeons as well. My issue with the dungeons is more so that the information about the dungeons, the history and all of that is not necessarily implemented into like the academic curriculum. I think if it was implemented into the academic curriculums for locals to also understand, not just like a you diaspora, when you guys come here, this is your history type of thing. When the president of Ghana said, this is all of our history, I just want that to be translated into like the academic curriculum as well.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Elvis.
All right. Thank you, Dynast. Hello to you. Your
Guys, real quick, guys, make sure you hit the like button if you have not hit that like button yet, and don't be afraid to hit the super chat as well. All right, go ahead, Elvis.
All right. Thank you, Dynast. Hello to you and your guests and fellow panelists. Happy Father's Day to you and all the fathers on the panel and those listening. Let me say this, right? I think visualization is very important because as a kid, in the United States, going to school, the first time I can remember crying, not because my mama hit me or, my daddy hit me, but just crying out of emotions. It was watching, movies that, depicted slavery and the trauma and the horrors of slavery. And that left a very deep mark. And I won't even say appreciation, but almost, sorrow of what Black people went through in this country. Of course, at the time, I wasn't as conscious as I am now because I was a kid. But even then, attaching that to the parts or the roles that other African play in bringing those people to this country so that they, that and cause suffering that I saw in these movies. So the visualization of it, I think, is important. I think the play was it was poorly, performed. And that's why I think sometimes some people call for people who have ancestry that went through slavery to play those particular roles because perhaps they can almost, I hate to say, they become possessed by their ancestor because it's like it's a spiritual thing, and they can play that role more authentically than maybe somebody who ancestor didn't go through it. So maybe the Ghanaians just don't really know how to portray slavery and what was really going on, and they don't have an authentic, vibe on it. But I'll move on and say that the dungeons, the plantation. To my brother M, there are plantations in the South right now who are, that are used as museums that people can go to. And if your ancestors were enslaved, I think if you're on that plantation, you can imagine what they were going through and the hardship that they had to deal with, the rape, the abuse, the humiliation. It brings back certain emotions, even though it's negative emotion, but it's necessary because if all of those things were wiped away.
Can I interject real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Tuskegee Institute was built on a slave plantation.
Well, that's not my point. My point is that these plantations where slavery happened and where atrocities happen are still in the South today, and you can go and visit them and take a tour. So will you think that the United States government should break them down because they engender negative emotions about slavery? Most people will probably say no because it brings out certain emotions and it reminds you and it keeps it at the forefront of your mind that your people and your ancestors went through something, and these are remnants to remind you that these things actually happened to your ancestors. So with the
I think.
dungeons, yeah,
Go ahead. I
yeah, with
think
the
we as Americans should decide whether it should be destroyed, not the U.S. government.
okay, yeah, I think with the dungeons, like Dynast says and the sister said, it because the Africans were complicit in the slave trade, make it seem as if they are profiting, which they are. But outside of the profit is a historical context that those who go into the continent can see that this is the place that our ancestors were held, and this was the last, point of Africa for 400 plus years. And it brings back certain emotions and it gives you the imagination of what they may have been feeling in that moment, the fear, you know, and all of those things. So I think it just puts you in a different
Dynast,
perspective.
he just validated. He said it brings emotions. You know what that means?
What
Can
what
I
do you
come
think that
in?
means?
You get some type of pleasure, satisfaction.
No, you watch movies. Movies are there to
Stimulation.
no,
You get
no,
stimulated
yeah,
looking at
movies.
that.
Certain movies are there to inflict certain kinds,
I never
emotions.
cried in my life watching a slave movie, and
I
I'm a
did when I
descendant of
was a
slavery.
kid.
You get pleasure from it.
No.
So I ain't gonna sabotage your show though.
Oh man, I mean, you want to fight Dennis? I'll pass the mic because I think it's gonna get too emotional. But I'll pass the mic. Maybe somebody else want to come in
All
because
right, go
we may
ahead,
come back.
go ahead, Dark Sky. Unmute yourself.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was watching your lives since a bunch of time. I couldn't come in. Sorry from my broken English. I'm living in France. And I'm from Togo in Gabon. So on the topic, this is insane. All I can see, this is armor. This is armor for that delineation movement. Because me, I'm watching this from outside. I'm in France. I'm in Europe, but uh, it's disheartening for me to see this. But at the same time, African living in the US are the culprits, and now even the Ghanaian government is in. This is insane because I, I don't get it. For me, you're gonna see maybe tomorrow or day after on Tariq Radio. He's gonna speak on this and million of Black Americans because I no longer use the term African American because it seems like 80% prefer to go by Black Americans. So I'm go- I prefer you use that term. You're gonna see Tariq, and I like what Tariq says. He sometimes say the truth, but he's gonna talk about this, and million Black Americans will be watching this and despise Africa. You see, that's uh, you can ask me some question, but it's for me it was disgusting because
Okay.
I know Ghana. I know Ghana. I, 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 I was born in France, but I lived for a few years in Togo, and Ghana is next door. I know Ghana very well, but I don't know Who advised them to do this? Is it Black Americans living in Ghana? I, I don't think so. Why? And like the sister said, from the moment they say the year of return, she's right. They can't just say the global black diaspora coming. If they want them to come in Ghanaian schools, they have to educate Ghanaian youth, children about those people that are coming in. If they're not doing this, from the outside, if I were a Black American, it will.
Hey, Dark Sky. Let me pass the mic to Babalico. Go ahead, Babalico.
Yeah. Referring to M. We have something in the Caribbean called is a day where we reenact that same thing what Ghana is doing. So I don't see nothing wrong with it. We reenact the same slave ship coming off the slave ship in the Caribbean, and our older folks take us up to the mountains and show us where the Europeans used to come and drop us off and stuff like that, and show us where we used to be dropped off in the Caribbean. So it's not like we slaved in the Caribbean. We came off the same slave ship. The only difference is in the Caribbean, we reenact, and we know we from African descent, we reenact what happens to us from the slavery. And we do that every year. We have something called Best Village. We does that. And it had some Nigerian and some Ghanaian came. And when we reenacted, they was crying. Tears was running because they said they didn't even knew that the slave trade was even in the Caribbean, because they didn't even learn that. Okay, so I don't see nothing wrong with that specifically. If Ghana is reenacting it or whatever, I guess everybody see themselves different, but I don't see they doing anything offensive to anybody, because we reenact the same thing back home anyway. So I don't see nothing wrong with it. Referring to M. Also, I don't know, the sister you have here, the Dynast, is I never hear if she is she from, because I know I be hearing different things. Is she from African?
Yeah.
Just ask her directly. I'm right here.
Okay, are you from America? Are you believe you from African descent, or you believe you are American, or you was always in America? You was always here? Because I didn't really hear you saying anything about it.
Hi, Babalico.
Yes,
My name is Nakira G. I'm originally from Compton, California. My entire family and lineage is from America. I have been going to Ghana for over 13 years, have lived in Ghana for 4.5 years, went to the University of Ghana as well.
I guess you wanted to know if you consider yourself African descent.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself of African descent or America?
I listen. I know that y'all have had these conversations with the FBA people, but I want to make something very clear. When y'all meet a Black American, asking them if they believe that they are African descent, I don't want y'all to get comfortable with that. I look like a Black person. I look like an African. I don't want y'all to get comfortable with walking up, like asking Black people that, whether it's online or in person. Let's just kind of nip that in the bud. My answer was my answer. I'm a Black American.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we are thinking. I'm just saying, because as you're saying, we did have that conversation, and I was just trying to know what's going on, because people have come up to me and
I was just about to cook, but I gotta go.
No, but I think Babalico, if she goes to Africa, she lives in Ghana, you think that she knows she's African descent.
All right, Elvis. Is it Elvis? Is
Yeah,
that
that's
Elvis?
right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was just asking because people just ask me all the time too from Caribbean, so it's not nothing to be offended of. It's just a question because it's a question that's been going on. Okay,
All
I
right.
don't.
Let me pass the mic to because we got people waiting. Let me pass the mic to Dapo. Go ahead, Dapo. Mute yourself, Dapo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Good evening. It's evening in Nigeria right now. Happy Juneteenth in arrears and happy Father's Day to everybody celebrating. Much love and respect to the guest, Ms. Nakira Grill. Huge fan of your work and salute to you. I just want to touch on three things. Basically, I'll start with the topic at hand. Is it Aki? Yes. I'm a Nigerian who lives in Nigeria. And even though I do understand that the minds and hearts of Ghanaians, or the Ghanaian government in this case now, to reenact the whole slave trade scenario or history, even though their hearts might have been in the right place, I feel like it came off a little bit tone deaf, a little bit tacky. Not because it is wrong or not because it's not important to acknowledge or recognize the horrific history of what happened back then, but because it's on a day like Juneteenth. Juneteenth to me is supposed to represent freedom, emancipation, joy, triumph, good vibes in general. So if we are seeing reenactments of, slave trade and all that, it kind of leaves a bittersweet sensation in the mouth. And, I do kind of empathize with Black Americans specifically, since it's on Juneteenth. If they feel a certain type of way, if that is what their holiday or their special day is being represented with, it just doesn't. It's not a wholesome feeling at the end of the day. So I do kind of recognize, although I also at the same time acknowledge that it's very important to represent the full picture of the horrors and atrocities that happened during the slave trade, including, if we must, the complicity of some African elites and leaders in the scale and the success of such a dastardly act. With that being said, I don't think it's a great idea for us to, out of emotions, decide that it is very important for us to get rid of the slave dungeons or the barracoons or all of those monuments that represent such history. We are living at a time now where Black history, and when I say Black history, I'm not even just talking about Black history in the Americas, Black history even on the African continent. We're at a time where there's a rise of anti-intellectualism, and then people are living in all sorts of denials. In America, I mean, just before the last speaker spoke, Babaliko was questioning or was trying to throw such a funny question at the guest, because there's been a proliferation of too many people who are outrightly denying the African roots, as if that's not even bad enough. People are literally downplaying and rubbishing and ridiculing the historic veracity of the slave trade as a whole. So structures like the slave dungeons and the barracoons are living remnants of the evidence of the greatest crime that has been committed in human history, as accepted by the United Nations earlier in this year. So if we are saying we need to destroy or abolish or break them down or collapse them, like what then would then remain outside of what is being documented in the curriculum? I also agree with Ms. Nakira when she said there needs to be a reconciliation between what is being mentioned during the tours of the slave dungeons and what is being put into the school curriculum. I'm from Nigeria. It's unfortunate that we don't really care about history in my country, even post-colonial history. Like nobody really cares really, because they just see it as, well, some things happened and then that's just the way it is. It doesn't count. But then we have to remember, if you don't know where you're coming from, you won't know where you're headed. So it's very important for us, not out of emotions or out of resentment or feelings of feeling in a certain type of way because of the slave dungeons. We need to put our heads in the right place and understand that these structures serve as living monuments of the history that binds all of us together. Whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of us, even on the continent, even if our ancestors didn't end up on those slave ships, a lot of us were affected by the slave trade too. We lost family members, we lost ancestors. So there are some villages or there are some townships that still hold like rituals, that still like ceremonies to commemorate the dozens and thousands of people that were lost and never seen again too. So I want us to not get too emotional and understand that these structures stay for a reason. I don't even think they are making any profit, because some people were talking about profit or revenue. Most of the revenue and profit supposedly that have been generated from these structures are mostly spent on maintenance. Yes, I understand that the UNESCO is trying to strong arm the Ghanaian government or the Nigerian government on how those places should be run, but they need to be maintained. They need to be kept alive. They need to the stories and the accounts of what happened there need to be preserved, because that's the only way we can continue to reinforce that justice is being owed to certain people. So that's the long and short of that. And finally, on the final note, regarding the subsequent moves by the African Union, led by the Ghana delegation, for calls for reparations, or for starting with the call for making slavery the most horrific atrocity in mankind's history, and then the follow-up layups with reparations, I think is a very good move. I think it also reinforces the fact that Pan-Africanism, even though it's been suppressed across all corners of the world, is currently still in work. Some people might have their reservations about it. I get not everything has 100% followership. We've seen cases where Caribbean countries and even countries in South America like Colombia and Brazil are on board. Dr. Maya Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, was in Ghana just last weekend, and then people are trying to make moves to push for calls for reparative justice, not just for the slave trade, but even for the looting of artifacts, for the destroy and the desecrations of different African kingdoms that were affected by slave trade, as well as colonialism. So there are key processes and key steps that are being made. And I feel like for people who believe and for people who really are interested in getting justice for the atrocities that their ancestors have had to go through, I think this is the best time for us to continue to push on what we believe in and understand that racial solidarity and Pan-African consciousness is very, very important to our victories at the end of the day. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. God bless you. Happy Juneteenth and Father's Day in arrears as usual.
No problem. Lewis, go ahead, and I'll pass it back to Nakara. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. For anybody who's lived in Africa or taught in Africa, you will find out from the smallest village to the big towns, reenactment and plays are one of the best ways to get messages of history into children. Ever since I was a kid at school, plays, reenactment was the best way to learn about history through stories. Okay, so if in Africa, if you go to Ghana and they're doing a reenactment, it may seem a bit tacky because their acting may not necessarily be Hollywood acting, but for us on the continent in Ghana, it has been a tradition that has been carrying on for forever. So to me, one of my biggest disappointments is that we don't teach enough about slavery in the Ghanaian curriculum. As the Nigerian brother just said, they just thinking about how they're going to get paid, how they're going to get money. And because of that, because of our quickness of mind to be part of the capitalist world, we forget about the basics. Okay, anything to get the children and people talking about slavery in Ghana, to make them realize that they are part of this, rather than going along with the European narrative not to teach slavery in Africa. Anything that counters that, I'm down with it. So if it means some tacky acting or whatever to get it into the children's head and people's head that this was us, we were part of it. The slave story is part of our story, not just for the people in the West. I'm down with it. Okay, it might be tacky, but in Ghana, when we do stuff like that, it is to get the message to the literate people and illiterate people. Okay, and that's one of the best ways we've always done it throughout our history. As I was a kid, I learned about Nancy. We done a reenactment in our villages and so on. That's how they teach the children. So it may seem tacky to you, but that's how we do things and teach things in Ghana. So
I want to respond to that.
You know, that's how we teach. It's not the Western world. Okay, we got a lot of people who are illiterate, a lot of people who we look at things differently. We don't want watching TV 24 hours a day. Reenactment is the best way for us to learn. It may be cringy for you, right? But it is a way to get the message into our children who have been kept out of this slavery until they get to a certain age. I want kids from school to be learning about slavery. And don't forget, when we talk about slavery on the continent, we still got people in our villages and so on who are affected by this. Okay, though it might be a few decades out, but we don't want to stir up old tribal ways because we're trying to hold the country together. We're a nation made up of different nations and tribes and kindreds. We're trying to hold it together. Okay, so doing a reenactment is a good way to learn history, how things are, because we're affected by slavery as well. Okay, that's what I'm going to say for now.
All right, Nakar, you wanna ask something? Well, let me read the super chat first. Shout out to Babaliko 9354. Thank you for $5 holla. We must ask questions to people who come to answer, not to get an attitude. Go ahead, Nakara. Go ahead, Nakara. You could, if you want to add to it, then I'll pass the mic to Africa.
Yeah, I mean, stupid questions get stupid answers. I wanted to respond to the piece about the little money that is coming in from the dungeons. So I want to kind of be careful with that conversation, right? Because there is an issue economically with the area surrounding the Cape Coast and Elmina dungeons. That is definitely a conversation that has been had. A lot of the area surrounding Cape Coast and Elmina dungeon has not been renovated, has not been upgraded. It really like still has like the same remnants from 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? So when it comes to the conversation about like UNESCO and the maintenance of the dungeon, that has always been a conversation that people have found very problematic, particularly people in the country, because again, all of this money is being generated, whether it's being generated locally or it's being generated by UNESCO. But why is that? Who is that money going to renovate or maintenance or maintain the dungeons when there is a ghetto right next to the dungeon that is literally touching the dungeon where the boats are there and this is what it is called when I went there. This is not what I'm calling it. This is what locals call it. And anybody who has been to the Cape Coast dungeons know this area. So I think that I don't want to do the thing where it's like, oh, they're not even making money anyways. No, they're making money at that dungeon. Especially because foreigners pay more to enter the dungeon as well. So
How much are they paying, sister? How much are they paying, really?
I mean, to us, it's like $1, $2, $3. Like for us, if we're translating it into their cities. Let me say this: the first time I went was in 2013. I've been before, but I've been
Before the
again, but
hype.
not as a
Before the hype.
tour. I
Yeah.
had access being able to go inside when I lived out there. But I've been more times outside of being a tourist, so that's a different thing.
All right,
let me just ask.
Hold on. It's not. You'll get the mic here in a second. Meech, go ahead, Meech.
Yeah. And thank you for letting me chime in again. I download the app, so it's working a little better for me now than the browser. But yeah, I get what the brother is saying about this is just what y'all do in Ghana and slavery is your history too. I definitely agree. I don't know if you were in the audience earlier when I mentioned that why I didn't see a issue with the context of what Ghanaians were, what I feel like y'all were trying to get across. I did say that it comes across very tone deaf because our voices and our input is not centered in their history, as well as other black people from the West. It wasn't just black people from the United States that were in chattel slavery. We talk about what, like 10, 11 different nations. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very important that if it's going to be about history and it's going to be about facts, you can't have bits and pieces of data and information because that creates a bias. It can't be if it's really about slavery and making sure we don't go back to that past, then it can't just be about one nation. It can't just be about one cultural group. You understand what I'm saying? Because
I hear you, brother.
when we teach about slavery in the West, our scholars, like the term Pan-African itself was created in the West by, like Henry Sylvester, Black Americans like W.B. Du Bois, you know what I mean? And it was about us coming together as descendants of African to topple slavery. So our history of slavery in the West is conquering slave owners, not just being enslaved and taken from Africa. But I don't know, when y'all do y'all reenactments, do y'all reenact the Maroon communities that actually revolted starting in the 1500s?
No, we don't need to do that because we got
That's
the
a problem.
No, it's not a problem because we got
Well,
the
I listen to you talk respectfully.
Hang on, brother.
Brother,
Hear
I
me out.
listen to you on mute.
No, brother, let me just quickly say this so I don't forget. I'll shut up and then let you carry on. You got the Ashantis there, and they defeat the whole army of Britain. So that's even bigger than the Maroons. So why do we even need to go our way and pull out the Maroons until our president goes to Jamaica? Then we could learn about Maroons. no problem. You could learn about the book, but we actually got the Ashantis who defeated the British. So, bro, you know, if you got the example right there.
Well, you guys were colonized by the British.
Yeah, that.
Lewis, you
So
guys
this is
you were colonized by
respectfully,
the British.
and this is why I was trying to finish a
Hang
thought.
on. We were eventually.
Y'all, we can talk together. We can sing together. We can pray together. We can't talk together. Can I talk as a Black American?
Lord, this is time to speak. Let him speak, Lewis, please.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Why am I being talked over as a Black American that loves Africa with Pan-African colors on my hat? Why am I being disrespected and talked over in a conversation about my history?
I'm not disrespecting you, brother.
Please,
but I listened to you talk.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
I even spoke to your point before I started speaking and acknowledged your point that you were making. And you're demonstrating what I said. There's a sort of tone deafness. And I'm not one of these FBA Black Americans that disassociates from our African roots and culture and identity. That's not what this is. I'm for the continent. I'm for our relationship. But like I say, there's some erasure happening. I'm talking about among the Black Americans that love Africa. I can fight with FBAs all day, but I can't erase the things that you guys are choosing to say as Africans from the minds of Black people in the West.
Give me an example, brother.
But you're making it a battle. When I brought up maroon culture before speaking to any historical context, your first response was you got some Ashanti that are better in the maroons. So what we need to talk about the maroons for?
Yes,
Your words.
The Maroons are descendants of Ashantis. So why talk about the expert when you got the core there?
So do you not understand how immature that is in a historical conversation?
Immature. You're being immature,
brother. You're talking over me like a child.
Guys, can we stick to the shows?
Louis.
I'm
Louis,
talking.
let the man talk, man.
Is this about Africans and their view of slavery only, and not anybody else but Africans?
We are Africans. This is our view of slavery. If you don't like it, brother,
Louis, fam.
Okay, so basically, so there's nothing that a Black American can say or do to participate in your historical.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so Black Americans can't talk to you. As a Black American, I can't talk to you as an African about slavery.
Come on,
is that what it is?
Brother. We're talking.
You're
bro,
talking.
come on, allow the man.
I'm trying to talk.
Speak,
every time I talk, somebody else on the panel talks.
Please.
I can't even get
come on, Lou. You come
out.
better than that, bro. Come better than that. Allow the man, please.
I'm gonna go on mute. I'm sorry. I don't want to disrupt the panel. I thought this was a diaspora conversation.
Come on, bro.
If
brother,
this is a Ghana, if this is Ghana only party, I'm cool.
No, I am not from Ghana. I apologize on behalf. Please, you speak, brother. It's your time.
Okay. I'm just saying, this is my experience as a Black American trying to reconnect with Africa. I've met a lot of beautiful people that are from the continent that are pro-Black, that embrace me as a Black American. But I've also had this experience, right? Where my experience as a descendant of Africa is being belittled, is being erased, is being talked over. And I'm being talked to like a white person trying to talk to you about Blackness. That is a lot of our experience. That is the difficulty we have in building bridges as Black Americans that are pro-Africans, is all of the negative interactions that our people have trying to connect. And I don't put that on everybody. I don't generalize. I have great relationships with people from Ghana. One of my homeboys actually runs a business in Ghana. Actually just built the IT center in Ghana. All we talk about is like, yeah, we need to go back to the motherland. This is not anti-African talk. But I think y'all need to look at how y'all are treating people that are trying to be your allies, that are descendants of you, versus how you're interacting with whites and other ethnic groups that are coming into the land trying to colonize. You know what I mean? Because I'm getting the energy from you like we're not even the same. Like we're not even the same.
Well, no. Actually, I got to pass the mic. Let me pass the mic to Kofi and Zongo and Africa.
Go ahead. Kofi came before me, please.
Peace,
oh man, come on.
Peace, everybody. Yeah, man.
Yo, Dynast, man, he came before me.
I think this is I'm sorry, I was here. I came in. I came in and out. So I would like to say, like, yes, it is cringe. You know, the first reenactment film I saw was by my guy Echo Simpson, and it was just cringe. You know, the grape scenes was crazy. It's like if you're being graped, you know, you would think you're struggling. but like she just bent over and like was like enjoying it.
No, hold on. What are you
And
Hey, yo, what's up with these guys today,
I'm
man?
referencing a film that a reenactment film that I seen in the Central region, and a lot of us just walked out. And like, you know, yes, you do have some bad reenactments and people overacting. Some people speak in tree airways. Some people speak in English like a white woman. It's crazy. And I would like to say like we had some great movies though done right in Elmina, Sankofa, and we had some Germans. They did this movie called Copra Verde. That's like a must see. That's like a masterpiece. But I read the history of the Fati Confederacy, and there's a couple of times they beat the Europeans powers outside the dungeon, starting with the Portuguese and then to the Dutch, and then after the Dutch, I guess the final ones were, I'm not sure if Spain was ever there, but then the British was like last. And there's so much nuance to these stories that I feel like if a person that's in the arts, any filmmakers, any people that's in theater, they could bring this to a whole new level and do it right. As bad as we're saying it is now, who knows? These same people might be like on like the Chinese level of theater, of public theater, and I think that's where it could go. Look, I don't want to be the victim no more. I did my DNA. Most of it was in Mali, Nigeria. 8% was in between Ghana, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire. I would like to say that look, I most likely my ancestors contributed in selling people, and we just got sold afterwards, right? We was just the last ones to sold was sold. We never made it back. But I'm sure, right, based on my behaviors, right, and based on what I've seen on the continent in Ghana, I could kind of see who would have got sold, and I could see who would have participated. And we have to stop. You have to stop pointing fingers. A lot of times some people from the African continent, born on the African continent, they like to see themselves as the slave sellers and the slave owners, and that's wrong too. Because I'm sure even people who sold people, they had relatives that were sold away, and that's just the facts. So I think we need to. I think it's good that it's causing attention, right? And the conversation is good. As cringe as it is, you know, let's keep it going. Who knows? Maybe one of us could go there and do a
Can I say
masterpiece
something,
theater
Father
act.
Rob?
But go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, hold on, Dark Sky. I gotta pass the mic. Go ahead. Let me read this super chat first.
Because it's 2 a.m. here in
Hold
France.
on. I'm talking. I'm talking. Baba Lico 9354. Thank you for $10 holla. I always learn in class. No question is stupid. If you can't answer a question about your heritage, how can you talk about Juneteenth? It's ridiculous. Let me pass the mic to Zongo. Then I'll let you ask your question, Dark Sky. Go ahead, Zongo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dines, for finally allowing me to talk. But actually, I mean, Nakira, I mean, a lot of times people tend to
Nakira.
oh, okay, Nakira. My bad. A lot of times the focus is mostly on the Cape Coast dungeon, but I mean, I think there was there are other several like dungeons across like the coast of Ghana. Particularly, there's one dungeon in the southeastern part of Ghana. I think the Prison Stein dungeon. That one also is completely even in ruin too. I don't know what like the ministry responsible for that is doing to just preserve those dungeons. But anyway, I was gonna ask you one question that you did say like they are not African Americans were not involved in the decision making like process. But then I did watch an interview with Ivy Prosper on the YouTube with Rabbi Kohain. In fact, he stated emphatically that he was part of like the ones that even gave the idea of the year of return to the former administration, right? I mean, he was not the sole person, but then himself along with several others, right? So that kind of signaled to me, oh, so they are really part of the decision making process too, right? And
Yeah,
then
he's on a board. He's on a board of the decision making of the dungeons of the Elmina in Cape Coast. He's on the board.
oh, okay, okay. But I was just gonna ask, like, as far as like this whole Juneteenth celebration with Dr. Combo, and a lot of times when you watch his videos on YouTube, he seems to be connected with the current administration. Dr. Erica Bennett, the head of I think the African Diaspora Union. I saw her with a couple of like senior officials regarding this the slavery talk in Ghana and in meeting with a lot of dignitaries in Ghana too as well. So don't you think somehow too? Because I mean, I was born and raised in Ghana. I've never seen this Juneteenth slavery reenactment in Ghana before. This is my first time seeing. Don't you think part of this whole thing too is also part is due to the fact that perhaps African Americans are even suggesting this idea to them as well? Because it was never there growing up. I never
Well
witnessed
Right.
that.
So
said,
I
brother.
think you might have so I think he asked me a question. So I think you probably weren't here when I said it. I actually said that there are Black Americans that are in the consultation space, specifically those Black Americans, like you just stated, Rabbi is a Black Hebrew Israelite. And so, as we talked about a little bit earlier, like the flattening of Blackness and who gets to represent and who gets to decide what Black Americans in Ghana want and are requesting is a internal conversation that has been going on for a few years now. I think it's just recently been made public with Dr. Kambon because he's spoken out about it. But again, someone having that relationship with the government doesn't necessarily translate to everybody in the diaspora having that ability with the government or even with the person who is being presented as the liaison. So I think that it is actually really important who gets to have that position. And right now it is, as you stated, Black Hebrews.
Okay, so it's still African American. Perhaps maybe his advice or recommendation might not necessarily be the overarching like decision approved by the African American community in Ghana, right?
I can't speak for them. I'm a Black American. I'm not a Black Hebrew Israelite, so I
Because
don't know what the Hebrew Israelites want for Black Americans in Ghana. I can't
yeah,
speak for them.
because like because
It's
like
not
I mean
just him. It's not just him. There's two prominent Black American women who are
yeah,
like really the
I,
spokespersons.
I say like Dr. Erica Bennett, right?
Yes, she's responsible for us getting citizenship.
Yeah, so I'm saying that, like, cause like, let's say if I was in Ghana, right? I wouldn't know, cause for me, I would think that, oh, if this person is very highly respectable person from the African American community, and he suggested this idea to me, I'm just gonna consider it as perhaps a general consensus coming from the African American community. I might not know like the nuances or the differences between African Americans from someone living in Ghana. But now that I live in America, I know because I interact with a lot of African Americans. But from someone living back there, I don't think they'll be able to tell. But the one that had relationship with them is what they're gonna work with. Don't you think? That's
If
Could
it's
I
done
ask
that
Nakari
poorly,
a question, please?
if it's done that poorly, you could tell is no Black Americans in that conversation. But if when it's done right, like Sankofa, you could tell, okay, they had people from the West contribute,
Can I
especially not just Black people, white people as well.
could I ask Nakari a question real quick? Do African American have a general organization that includes all these different subgroups like the Pan Africanists, the Hebrew Israelites, and just regular Black Americans who live in Ghana? Is there an umbrella organization that you guys have and you have a representative to the Ghanaian government?
There's a few.
Yes, yes, we have
I
the
think he
African
asked.
American.
Okay, I thought he asked. Never
That
mind.
was for her.
Y'all in the
man,
No, no,
guys,
no,
man,
no,
they're asking the
no.
whole.
That was from the Nakara. Oh, guys,
Go
go ahead,
ahead, go
Nakara.
ahead.
Okay, they're
Go
not
ahead,
the
Nakara.
headquarters.
Go ahead, Nakara. Guys, don't interrupt. Go ahead, Nakara.
So, hi, Elvis. Yeah, so there is the AAAG, um, and that is the Association of African Americans. I think they changed it to like Afro Descendants or something like that. But there's a AAAG which has been around for like decades. So that's generally one of them that a lot of people go through. There's also the Caribbean Association of Ghana. So there are at least, and then there's some, and then AAAG has a
Craig,
Central Region version as well. So
just Craig.
y'all got it. He wants to do it.
Can I
Can
say
I say something?
something?
Man, Kofi, you gotta allow. She's the guest. You gotta allow her to speak before you guys.
I mean,
You know,
she's the guest, but I mean,
let
I live
you
there,
But
gotta
you
let.
know, but
so
you know
Yeah,
more
but
than
you
her,
gotta let
right,
her.
Kofi? Because you live in
But I
Ghana.
mean
Come on,
what?
man.
actually,
But I
I
mean
live.
what?
But she
But I
lived
mean
there
what?
too.
But I mean
Kofi,
what?
let her finish. Then you also add your
Excuse
point. That's
me.
how we do it.
Excuse me, Zongo. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kofi, she's the guest, but I mean what?
I live there.
Oh,
What?
Kofi, that's so childish, bro.
so what next? So what
Didn't
is
you
the
hear
but I
saying that
mean?
she lived there too?
It's okay. So
But you let Zongo come on, and he clearly knows more than you. It's not a diss.
No,
He's
he
been
doesn't.
doing
You
his
just didn't give
homework.
her a chance to articulate her
I'm
points.
sorry.
I'm
Come
just
I
on,
didn't.
saying.
Kofi.
First
I'm
off,
just
I didn't know
saying.
that this was about who knows more than the other, and I'm trying to figure out where that even comes from. If you want to try to do
You gotta
something
do
where
your
y'all like
homework.
humble black women, I know that that's like y'all space in this fake
Yeah,
ass
that's
Pan
rude.
African thing that y'all do, where y'all just hate when women speak. And I know
No,
you
no,
just
no, no, no,
Respectfully,
noticed
no,
a
no,
bunch
no.
of
Hold
like
on, hold on,
niggas up
Nakai,
here, so
Nakai.
relax
That's
yourself,
Respectfully,
bro.
not true. Not here. Not here. Not here.
No,
Not
no.
not me.
No,
respectfully,
I said I'm talking
Zongo knew
about
more than
people
you. I'm
who
just
get into
saying.
these spaces because I don't understand how him asking me if there is an African American association in Ghana, that is where you feel like I don't know something and I can't finish saying it. I don't even understand how there's a correlation to
You
that.
put it all on Rabbi Kohen,
Kofi,
and it's
Kofi,
definitely
Kofi.
not
Let's
all on
not.
him.
Kofi, Kofi,
please,
Kofi.
Kofi,
Just let it
Kofi.
go, bro. Let it go, Kofi. All right.
All right.
Africa.
Can I
Go ahead,
finish
Nakara.
answering the question?
Yeah,
I
Nakara.
didn't even
Take
finish
your time,
answering the
Nakara. Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead, Nakara. Go ahead.
God damn. So yes, there is a AAAG. That is where a lot of Black Americans are a part of that organization. There's the Caribbean Association. What Kofi is so happy to tell everybody about, there is something called Craig, which is the Central Region AAAG, which is, from my understanding, spearheaded still by Rabbi. Do you want to confirm that, or is there a new president, Kofi?
I mean, there's a board of people. There's a board. There's
Okay, is Rabbi
boards.
still a part of it?
All
Okay,
of
thank you.
everyone has a
Go
board.
ahead.
Kofi, come on, man. All right.
Yeah,
Go ahead
Highness,
after
can I
Africa.
just say something regarding
Yeah.
this?
No, you can't,
Yeah. You
Louis.
sorry.
After turn. Go ahead after
Sorry. Yeah.
Africa.
You guys are. Yeah. Greetings to everyone. Happy Father's Day, Juneteenth. Nice to see you here, sister. It's quite welcoming. We appreciate what you're doing. Absolutely. Basically, for me, from what I'm seeing here, I hope the Ghanaian leader is doing this for a good intent for the African American community and the African in the diaspora, as a whole. He is basically trying to fight on something, from a legal point of view, with the United Nations, that the transatlantic slavery, because transatlantic slavery is not just to the United States. He went to the South Americas, to the Spanish world. They started with the Portuguese, to the Spanish world, to the English world. Okay, so it's quite broad. So I hope this is some kind of legality, as I said in the past, and it's a good intent. It's not some money grabbing project, for themselves. Because me, I'm very skeptical. Because if you look at how African leaders treat their own citizens, okay, um, I don't have any hope because we know they don't look at their own citizens well. Not alone for them to look at African Americans or other black people in the diaspora in a good intent. They tend to be puppets. Quite opportunistic. Um, the record obviously should be there. I mean, they can't even get themselves up together. In the African continent where people are still being abused by the same group of people that they're trying to advocate about transatlantic slavery to, because we know these people are still in Africa. They're still doing something similar, when it comes to exploitation, with the people and the land. in our minds. So that's one. And also, look how many of these African countries actually teach, about transatlantic slavery. If you ask the average African, in the continent in West Africa, about transatlantic slavery, they don't. I'm from Sierra Leone. Okay, nobody knows about these things better than us. We know. We see it. We live the history. Freetown was founded by free slaves. Okay, and what we knew when I was young, it was like, oh, so many of our people died in that sea. That's they pointed at the sea. And in fact, the people who actually helped stop slavery were the slaves who were actually repatriated back to West Africa. They're the one that helped stop slavery. Where William Wilberforce. Africans were still selling, including my people. All of us are guilty of it, and I already put my hands up and said, I apologize on behalf of my people who done this dusty thing. It's actually wrong. And also the entire global world, were involved in this. But it's about admitting the wrong, okay, and moving from it, learning from the past. But are these African leaders, are they learning from any of this? Have they learned from the past? Are they using this as a cash cow? Trying to make money? That's the question. We'll find out. And these leaders who actually claiming to be Pan Africans, who are running up and down, you know, and who also we know some of their countries are making a lot of money from the transatlantic slavery. What have they? First of all, what have they ever done for these so-called African American slaves, or the Caribbean slaves, or those in the South Americas? Have they ever offered the land, to those people to say, look, have they actually offered anything to them? Because their people also were contributed into transatlantic slavery, not just the Europeans.
Maybe this
So,
could be a start,
all,
brother.
no,
Maybe
but
this
all
could
these
be
things
the
need to be
start.
looked at. So that again.
Maybe this could be the start that Africa as a whole give
Yeah, yeah,
proper
yeah,
land.
yeah. I hope so. I've been skeptical and also been hopeful at the same time. So the reality is, we just got to be realistic. Okay, if he's doing all this for a good intention, for the general good, you know what? I'll be right behind him, and I'll be like, you know what? Absolutely, go for it, because we don't have leaders at the moment to actually stand up to some of the things that's going on. Because we need
He's
someone
doing
that
it.
will say, right,
He's doing it.
that's right. Yeah, we need somebody that will stand up and say, we need this legal battle, because sometimes you need these things to be legalized first from the United Nations to say, like, right, this is a crime against humanity. Where are we going to take it next? It's step by step, issue. We have to be smart and be strategic, but you have to be the African Americans and the Black people in the Caribbean and the South Americans. They all need to be involved in this, heavily involved. In fact, they should be at the front. But obviously, we know we don't. We need strong leaders who work with
Africa,
these people in the
30 seconds. I got to
yeah,
pass them.
yeah. We need strong leaders in the United Nations to fight this, because that's where you need to start. You need the UN first, then you can go to countries after one country after another. And we need strong lobby groups globally to actually get things achieved. I'll pass the mic for now. Thank you.
All right, Invisible Man, go ahead.
Okay, so whether this is a tacky video or not, I can't comment, because what I saw when that you shared with us, I think, is only a small portion of it. But I have seen videos of some of the holding facilities that were built in different countries by different tribes when they go into the interior, when African tribes went into the interior and then brought those who were going to be sold and held them at a certain spot. I have to say those videos were done, to me, they were done very well. They explained what was going on within Africa itself, between the tribes and the kingdoms themselves. So I'm not going to comment on whether this was tacky. It's just that it seems that every video wants to tug at people's emotions through the lashings and the crying and all of that. And when you emote those kind of feelings, it triggers people. So that's all I have to say with respect to what was shown, unless I didn't see all of it. I do have a question for the Africans and then for Nakira.
I am African.
Nakara.
Nakaira, but for those who are from African countries, do you think that Black Americans are owed anything because of the transatlantic slave trade and because of the participation of the tribes that are still within Africa? Do you think the Americans, the South Americans, the Caribbeans, etc., are owed anything? Or do you not think they're owed anything? And if they are owed something, what do you think that should be?
Can I go first, Dynast?
Yeah, go ahead and respond.
Yeah, I think that right now, as Africa was saying, if the call is genuine, and I believe it's genuine, I know it's genuine from Ghana, okay? If this thing is good and they carry on with it, I think the African Union should be the first one to pass a motion for all the countries to set aside land for the people returning. Let's see what land each country has to offer. Okay, and we can work something out from there. I think that's the first thing that Africa as a whole can easily do. 60% of Africa is is not habited, so we can do that. Okay. 2, we cannot necessarily jump back on the ship and go back in time per se. Okay, but we can make up for that. All right, that's something the African Union can easily do. Okay,
And Louis, let me get a chop at it quickly, just 30 seconds to add to what you said. All right, my suggestion would be that instead of offering, we should ask them, and they should have an organization like the Mr. Invisible Man is saying, to tell Africa what they want from Africa as a collective. Do they want to have better economic, integration with African countries where they can trade with us for natural resources and other things like that? Because they may not want land to live on the continent. They may just want, favorable trading, deals for our natural resources that we have on the continent. So that might be another solution. But I'll pass the mic.
From the Caribbean and all that, can answer for that. But for African Americans, who's going to really now represent them? I mean, how do we move forward with African American in particular, or even Brazil?
Well, I think for the African American part, I've said before, and you guys have heard me say this before, there are organizations in the United States that if they were, I guess if somebody went and asked them to make these connections.
Invisible man, the problem is we're not organized here in America.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
There's no centralized Black American
and Dynast,
organization.
the other thing is, Dynast, neither are the Africans. So that has to be created.
But
different.
We have the African Union. We
have the African Union and the leaders and the people will be willing to work with you. Trust me. Forget about those dusty ones that come in.
So we do have Black American organizations. I don't want to allow. I don't want to allow our lack of solidarity as Black Americans to come across with misinformation that we don't have structured major organizations that represent the Black American community. I'm not saying that they're a monolith or that they're 100% accepted by all Black people, but collectively there's a handful of organizations that represent the majority of the 45 million Black people that live in the United States. There's Black business owners that employ Black people. We have over 100 Black colleges that Black Americans built.
One second. One second. And then Invisible Man had a question for Nakara. Give me the organizations.
NAACP was founded by W.B. Du Bois, who unalived it.
NAACP and come on, man.
Well, hold on, wait. Can we take? So, are we talking about our emotional opinions, or are we listening?
Well, it's not an emotional.
I didn't say we have to love it. I just say we have the organizations. I didn't say we all like those organizations. I didn't say everybody. I just say we have them. Saying we don't have them is not factual. Saying, hey, I don't really like the NAACP. That's okay. I don't like everything about them, right? But they're saying, do we have them? Saying that you don't have a Black organization is not the same as saying I don't like the black organization
Well,
we
it's
have.
not a black
Is that valid?
organization. The NAACP is a national advancement of colored people, which includes colored people. It's not a black organization.
Founded by in part by W.B. Du Bois,
In part,
who is
but it was
who was the
predominantly
co-creator of the word Pan-Africanism
it
and the
was the
concept.
majority Jewish people who funded and established NAACP.
100%. Jewish people also co-founded the NAACP. But
Okay,
again,
okay. So let me say this before you guys get into this back and forth. That really is.
I don't want to back and forth.
Okay,
We
hold
talking
on,
about
my
facts.
man. Hold on, my
All I-
man.
No,
all I
no,
can
but
say is
Invisible
facts.
Man, you had a question for Nakara. Ask her first before
Hold
you.
on.
Invisible Man, you had a question for Nakara. Go ahead.
Okay, it was the same question that I posed to the guys from the African countries, but I do like Elvis's question because as you've heard, I believe business connections are the way to grow this. So I'll leave it there.
Well, what's your question for Nakara?
Does she think that we are owed, and how does she picture any type of reparative justice, economic or otherwise? Because I'm going to tell you, having museum dollars, I mean that's nil. That's not even a drop in the bucket to do any reparative justice. But go ahead.
Don't
Aaron,
forget
you're
about the
matrix.
Black Farmers Association. Don't.
Me. Let Nakara. Let Nakara. Go ahead, Nakara.
Y'all do this weird thing with questions, but go ahead.
Let the sister speak. Go ahead, Nakara.
Okay, so again, like I had mentioned earlier about the dungeons for one, because I think that there's a list of things that can be done, especially in terms of the conversation about reparations. One with the dungeons, for me personally, I think that there needs to be some type of diaspora representation. But I also want to, before I even get into that, I do want to make commentary on what the question was prior about the organizations that we do or do not have. That's actually one of the issues as to why we still don't have certain types of representation when it comes to the continent, because of whether we have these organizations or not, whether we are supporting them, whether we are funding them, all those things do kind of affect it, because Ghana is building relationships with certain universities. Ghana's government is building certain relationships with Divine Nine and things like that. So the government and people, who have money and connections and all of that, they have ways to get into contact with certain Black communities. But again, the concept of the Black community having this one idea on something, I don't think is necessarily possible. Personally, I think that because as the Black community, we have different factions of it. We have different ways that people want to live. So I just wanted to make that comment as to why some people feel like certain organizations they see that are getting like publicized in Ghana, but if you're not a part of like Divine Nine, I'm not a part of Divine Nine, so I don't benefit from anything that is possibly happening with that. That's just me personally. But when you talk about what do I see happening, one of the things is that with the dungeons, I think that there needs to be more diaspora representation. I also think that the UNESCO partnerships that the Ghana government has, we should be a part of that as well, because Ghana doesn't just have those two dungeons. There's about 33 standing dungeons in Ghana, and that's just Ghana. There's obviously forts and dungeons and things of that, and things being created. Right? There's also slavery tourist attractions that are being developed that are not necessarily original, which I'm kind of against, to be honest. I do think that if we're going to have certain history museums, and if it is going to be particularly about our history here in America and the Americas in the Caribbean, or Caribbean, however it's supposed to be pronounced now, child. I do think that we need to have more representation, with, especially with Ghana. Now, I want to put context though. A lot of these things that we are mentioning, the Ghana government is not 100% in control of either. That's the unfortunate part about some of these things too. So I think we have a similar conundrum with like in Ghana that we have here. A lot of these things that we may want, we're gonna kind of have to do that footwork. And I think that that's something that a lot of people kind of don't like, I guess, about Ghana. But you kind of have to understand that this is a developing nation, and all of these ideas and things like this relationship that we're trying to repair, I think that there's a lot more conversations that should have been had. I've said this before on this platform. I personally, because I had been going to Ghana before 2019, I wanted the year of return to actually be a Pan-African conference. I wanted it to be like a 5-year, 10-year long conference where we were coming to Ghana, having this, week-long experience, so that all of these kinks that we're seeing over the past 7 years could have actually kind of been like a part of the experience itself, right? Because now you have people saying that, oh, we should have been doing this, we should have been doing that. And it's like, yeah, but none of us were given an opportunity unless you are in the close quarters of those who have the high positions like Kofi, right? But if you are not associated with people who have these high positions in the community, then it's not like everybody that lives in Ghana is invited into these particular conversations. So I think sometimes we kind of like assume that like the Black diaspora community in Ghana is also like all on board with this one thing. I think it's also divided out there too. I think that we should have citizenship. Those are things that are also a conversation with the diaspora community. They're still trying to figure out the citizenship thing. There are people who don't want the DNA test. There are people who do. That's still a conversation. Again, I think that we could have avoided all of this through a Pan-African Congress, but I'll just stop there. There's also other things that I feel, but I'm gonna just stop
Yeah,
there.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
you're
no, no,
really
no, no,
on
no,
point.
no. Hold on, Invisible Man. Nakar, no, go ahead and finish. I was enjoying that. Go ahead and
I
finish.
thought she was finished.
No, Invisible Man. Golly, chill out. Nakara, do you want to add to? No, but I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear. Okay.
No,
Okay.
truly, Dynast, I didn't break in on her. I thought she said she was finished. I wasn't
Yeah,
being rude.
but I wanted, but I started speaking because I wanted her to actually.
When she's
Like, going
finished,
to
can I
go.
can I ask her questions, Kofi?
Let me say this lastly. Whoever mentioned farming, I think that is one of the most important ideas and areas that collaboration should occur.
Okay.
Okay. So also, somebody mentioned earlier about the thing about like diasporans should be given land. So again, those are things that have already happened. Those are things that are happening now. It's not necessarily happening on the government level, but there are chiefs who have given land to diasporans for diasporans to create Pan-African villages. One of them being Gasebu in Central Region, and there are a few others that have popped up, but I don't know too much about them because they kind of like popped up and seeing people just kind of posting that they were selling land. But Asebu is one of the, I think, ones that are the most popular that people have seen, that I've visited, that I've been to. So those things are happening. Again, I don't necessarily think that these are going to be things that are going to happen overnight. I don't think that these are going to be things that's going to happen in a year. I think that it's going to continue to take time. Above all, regardless of what we do and how we get reparations, I just think that we need actual descendants of the transatlantic slave trade to be in that representation and be in that room. And also, I would also want people who we can kind of vote in for that versus people who, because of old age, they have these positions because of seniority.
Now let me
Okay.
read
I
these
mean,
super chats. Let me read this. Hold on, I'm reading
okay.
super chats. Ursa Mahan Worlds Fine 726. Thank you for $5. The Ghana enactment depicted enslavement. Juneteenth is about freedom. Murson 3368. Thank you for $2 holla. I'm Sierra Leonean and I know my history since high school. Murson 3368. Thank you for $2 holla. Black Americans enslaved and sold Africans also. I need to see the facts on that. Passport King, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say Dynast before
Well,
he comes on.
after, let me pass the mic to Passport King. Go ahead, Passport King.
Okay, no problem.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to jump right into it. There's so much to unpack, but hey, told you so. I'm a friend of the show. I'm a friend of the show. It's been a while since I've been here, but look how quickly in such a short amount of time.
Man, Louis, be quiet. Go ahead, Passport King.
Look how quickly in a short amount of time since Ghana's president, I'm going to try to be as respectful as possible to him. I don't respect him, but I'm going to try to address him by his proper title. When he came to America, but I will say this much, to run that scam at the UN, and many FBAs protested, on many, not just FBAs, people that go by Freedmen or they go by FBA, Financial Black American, people that go by ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, even people that go by DOS. We was all like, nah, this ain't right. And we was shouted down. We shouted down by other people in the diaspora, especially from the continent, but not only in the continent. Oh, we need to be quiet. We can't do this on our own. Blah blah blah. And that's happened even on, no disrespect, on this program. Like, oh, we need to step back and let him take the lead. Okay. Now, before we get to this so-called slavery enactment, it's not just tacky. It's worse than that. It's mockery. Wasn't it just last month that Ghana's president talking about he's accepted the apology for the Vatican for their role in slavery? Or, I don't know. Maybe I was hallucinating. I'm not on drugs or nothing, but, maybe I hit my head. It was hallucinating. Didn't that just happen last month? If I'm wrong on that, someone please let me know. Did that actually happen? That Ghana's president accepted the Vatican's apology for slavery, and now we get this. You see why there was so many voices that was saying, look, President of Ghana, whatever you want to do with the Caribbean or West Indies, whatever term they prefer, you want to do with Brazil, if they're cool with that, fine, y'all do what you got to do. But as for us here in the United States of America, and no, we are not African Americans. We reject that term, the majority of us. The delineation movement is growing. Everyone don't go by FBA. Some go by ADOS. Some go by DOAS. But this African American term, it died with Jesse Jackson. And let me speak on that briefly. And please, Africa, don't take this as an insult. I know you're going to deny this, but I was listening very carefully. I got a very good memory. Shortly before you concluded your speaking, you mentioned African Americans, but then you mentioned blacks in the Caribbean. I found that interesting. Why did you say? Hold on! Don't cut me off yet.
You said idiot.
He said African American, but he said blacks in the Caribbean. How come you didn't say Africans in the Caribbean? See, this is the problem that we have right here. Everyone wants to Africanize us here in the United States and make it seem like we're displaced Africans. We somehow either don't belong in America, we need to go back to the motherland. But you didn't say, and I'm not trying to pick on you, African, I'm just using an example. You didn't say Africans in the Caribbean, you said black. So how are people in the Caribbean or West Indies, whichever term you want to use, how are they black? And they don't address themselves as black in their country. They just go by their nationality, but we're Africans. You see this massive cognitive dissonance that's going on here. And again, I'm not trying to
African American just sounds better.
Can you let him answer the question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Africa.
Yeah, it's what the African Americans tend to be. Most of them tend to address themselves as African Americans, and Caribbeans. We know that they. Okay, let me just finish. I live in the UK. African, Caribbeans or Black Caribbeans. Most of them also, in general, they identify themselves as people of Caribbean but African descent. So it's based on the time that they identify themselves on, more than a general term. So most African Americans I meet, they actually identify themselves as African Americans, and in the UK they would say they're Caribbeans or they're Afro Caribbean or Black Caribbean. So I just use that lazy term. So it does not mean that they do not identify themselves as Afro Caribbeans, because in the UK, if you ask, when you fill in a form, the options are Afro Caribbeans, not Caribbeans. Okay.
All right,
So,
let me do this. Pastor King got 30 seconds. I'm gonna let Kofi ask Nakara his question.
So, to wrap it up in a nice little bow, this slavery mockery, and that's what I'm gonna call it, it's not tacky, it was mockery. I know people are gonna try to make excuses. They didn't know any better. They mean it was beyond insulting. It was plain mockery. That's just the final nail in the proverbial coffin of whatever allyship with Ghana. We don't need their help. We don't need the
You
president
guys
of Ghana.
pick and choose when to be African.
Yeah.
No. We don't need neither Ghana,
If
any
you
other
ain't African, why
country.
you
Hold
offended?
on. We don't need Ghana's help. We don't need any of the other 53 African nations' help. We don't need the so-called Caribbean or West Indies, whichever term we use, we don't need their help.
Who is we?
Foundational Black Americans, ADOS, I know
Why
those
you
two
looking me
got
my
their
way, bro?
issues, but I'm just naming all the groups. Foundational Black Americans, ADOS, DOAS, Freemen. We know our government. We're more than capable of dealing with the United
Okay,
States. We don't need none of these other
let me pass the
groups.
mic. Go ahead, Kofi. Ask your question.
Yeah, I just want to push back on Nakara a little bit. I know she threw a shot because I was excited and shit. I don't really get a chance to have these conversations, so I admit I wasn't too excited. But I would like to push back on yeah, these our elders are old, right? The chiefs, the people in political power, and the diaspora and elders and leaders, they're old. I would like to push back and say we don't have to ask their permission, and they do not have to platform us. To me, O'Shea Du Jackson has the platform. He to me he has the biggest platform, and I believe it goes by that. Whoever has the attention, and I think we could escalate right our attention to the highest level of who's getting the attention on YouTube or on social media. Period. We have the technology, we have AI, we have the know-how, these conversations to start these platforms ourselves and never ask them for permission. They don't have to put us
It
on
was
because
supposed to be a question, Kofi.
obviously they don't know what they're doing. The question I want to ask, do you think we need their permission? Or can we just take it over? That's what I want to ask. That's it.
So as I stated before, I would like for there to be a voting system so that people can vote who they want to represent them.
I would say people are voting and it's not good enough. I just think if you're a Gen X, if you're a baby boomer, you're kind of too.
So are you talking about the government or are you
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
people who
all.
want to be popular online?
I'm talking about all of them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm specifically talking about who gets to be represented in the Ghana government. I'm not talking about popularity right now.
And I had a question for
That's what it takes. Popularity.
Nakara
That's what it
too.
takes.
Just to add on that, do you think the Hebrew Israelites who are part of your organization in Ghana, do you think they have a different agenda than just a regular, say, a Christian African American who lives in Ghana?
And Elvis, I was gonna bring that up too, but go ahead because I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Nakara.
I'm not. I feel like I'm being asked questions that I've already like responded to, and I feel
Can I
like I'm just
answer
like
that?
repeating myself. Yeah, because you're Nicaran. You're right.
Well, I mean, God damn, Kofi,
What's
be
wrong with
quiet,
you,
man.
Kofi?
What's up, bro?
Go ahead,
I'm
Nakara.
seriously.
No,
Hold
no,
on, I'm
Nakara.
going to
Answer.
go get some water
I'm
because I'm
asking
thirsty.
permission.
I'm gonna
I'm
get water
asking
for the both of
permission.
us
Go
since
ahead,
we're
sister.
dehydrated. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
So,
sister.
Kofi, since you want to answer, let me make it more poignant. Is there a clash of ideology amongst African Americans living in Ghana based on their
Of
religions?
course,
Also, yeah. So maybe
of course.
Kofi can answer.
Respectfully, not. I'm not trying to answer for Nakara. I'm just excited.
Bro, just answer, man.
Um.
Yeah, man. No, no, don't,
Yes,
no, don't.
I
Look,
would. I
she's
would
the
say
guest.
yes.
I think
I, I would say yes. There's a clash and there's competition. I would say the AAAG, which I would more so call them the Divine Nine Christians, the corporate class. They have a upper hand in a way, right? That's Gen X. Then you have the baby boomers, which is quote unquote Rabbi Cohen and the people that's in his age group, along with the Chiefs, right? They have a certain type of power, right? And that they're they're in competition, right? And they're fighting, and that's why mainly we really can't get a lot done. And then you have like people like Steve Coakley Jr. You have people like um, in Cairo. You have people like myself. You have Ghanaians. You just have the African youth. Period. Um, to me, nothing moves without the youth, and they're the future, and they're going to be the future. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
All right, go ahead, Nakara.
This Nakira?
Yeah, you. Not the
Oh,
Kofi Nakara. You Nakara.
um, I don't remember the question. What you are were you asking about the elders
Go
situation?
ahead, Elvis. Next question.
Yeah, is there an ideological clash, amongst the Hebrew Israelites type and maybe the regular African Americans or Christians living in Ghana in terms of the agenda that they're trying to push for the community?
So I can't speak for other Black Americans because I'm not Christian or Muslim or Catholic or any of those. Um, I think that here in America, Black Hebrews have a different agenda. They preach a very specific message that I don't benefit from and that I don't believe in. And so I don't personally believe that religion needs to be that close to anything governmental, social, and those types of things. Now, I will say the Asebu Pan African Village is not a Hebrew organization, and I want to make that clear. I've also interviewed people who live in Asebu, so you can hear their story for themselves. And there's also recent interviews as well. But for me personally, I don't want religion to be that close to certain things. Now, everybody's going to have their traditional beliefs and all of that. I just think that when you ask, is it an ideological clash? I mean, yeah, it's automatically an ideological clash because you have people coming in identifying as a very specific thing while also representing the Black American diaspora. So I would personally, if people are going to be identifying as those things, then I would want people to have their own groups instead of people coming into organizations and noticing that there is favoritism or there are things being only done for certain groups or whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that that's happening. I'm saying that's a normal thing that will happen. So for me personally, I don't feel represented by that. I haven't benefited from that.
All right, let me pass the mic to Tony Red. Go ahead, Tony. Unmute yourself.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? I ain't really got nothing on that topic because I'm not from Africa. I'm a American. Uh, I just don't be understanding the problem what Africans got about us Black Americans, like having our own culture and our identity. I don't appreciate how everything we do, people try to grift off of it, and then especially when they talking like they got some type of moral high ground when it was in fact those people over there is the ones who sold the majority of the people that's in the black folks in the Caribbean. Because only 2 or 3% made it to North
You sold
America
people too.
in the first place.
What about the Christians
How?
and Muslims that? What about the Christians and Muslims that sold black
I'm
people
not.
into slavery in Africa?
Black
Like,
You
are you
American.
still
sold
with
people
That ain't
Abraham
too.
got nothing to
religion?
do with the Black American.
Well, I mean, let him speak. It's his turn.
It have nothing to do with
Hey,
our own culture,
hey,
with our own
Tony,
ethnogenesis.
your connection is bad. Your connection is bad. Now you
Damn.
froze. You probably
Is it
turn off
still
your
bad?
video.
Yeah.
You got a little, you got a little bandwidth, brother. You ain't got
Yeah,
that 5G.
turn off your video. All right, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I did. Let me just leave and come back.
No,
Yeah, go
you're
ahead.
fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, basically, what I'm saying is when Africans come to America, we rock out with y'all. We let y'all do what y'all do. We see y'all embracing y'all culture, and we say, okay, already, my African brothers in Zimbabwe already. You know, we funny, so we be fucking with y'all like that. But at the end of the day, we accept y'all for who y'all is, and for the most part, we ain't gonna try to come into y'all and tell y'all who y'all is. We're not gonna do that to y'all. Y'all have this superior complex with y'all selves, where y'all feel like y'all smarter than us because it's propaganda that y'all seen that the white man gave you on TV. A lot of people come down here with a false pretense of what a black American even is. And then when we say things like we have American Indian roots and stuff like that, a lot of y'all smirk it off and you laugh and you say you just don't know your country. And y'all say that, oh, and I feel like that's some lame ass shit, bro. And that's why I'm trying to tell y'all. Jesse Jackson is the reason why y'all saying African Americans right now. That
No,
shit was
he's
in the
not.
Yes, the fuck it was. That shit was in
No, he won't.
1980.
Don't swear at me, my friend. I've met Jesse Jackson, my friend.
In
I've seen him
1989.
live.
Come on, guys, don't do that.
Don't stop your nonsense.
You can shut your damn mouth. I know what's in my. I know what's on the documentation. I know my fucking country history, and that's y'all problem. Y'all problem is y'all, and it's our fault too. But we learning now, and that's the part that got everybody messed up. Because for a while
You're
we didn't
learning
know.
bullshit, bro.
We learned bullshit through the school system. That
Are you from Africa?
Hey, Lewis, stop interrupting him. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is black people are trying to find their own identities again. Y'all don't understand. See, the reason why we trying to let y'all know the difference on this shit, because when J. Edgar Hoover said the unification of the Negroes is the number one threat to national security, he wasn't fucking talking about y'all. He was talking about my people. And that is why, coincidentally, 4 years after he said that shit, that's when the CIA and the FBI came in and they killed all of our leaders that we have. They killed the Huey P. Newtons. They killed the Martin Luther King. They killed the Malcolm X. They did that. They put the
killed
drugs.
the Patrice Lumumba as well. They overthrew the Kwame Nkrumah as well. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm not. Y'all not listen. I don't give a fuck.
Shut this shit.
Can I ask you a question, brother?
Hold on, look. The difference between us and y'all is, bro. I didn't mind asking you for no African for your. I don't give a fuck.
Are Africans Negroes?
Hey, hold on. One mic. Hey, Tony, we don't do the cussing over here. So you
I apologize for the cussing. I'm speaking on this because y'all misrepresentation my people, and y'all.
Hey, Tony, are Africans Negroes too?
No, you are not.
Do you know there's a place called Negro Land in Africa, brother?
Listen, was your name? Are you on the United States Census?
I'm telling you, Negroes are African. There's literally a landmass called Negro Land in Africa.
Okay.
we're all over the
Okay,
place. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm asking, do your African people, are y'all on the United States Census? Main Negro? No, you're not. Because that shit is for my people and my people only.
That's false
Nobody
information.
cares.
But that's false information.
Okay.
And that's the point. You said it out your mouth right then. Y'all don't care. Y'all want to go with y'all own narrative. Y'all ain't nothing but the white man in black skin. That's
Black
why
American
we say
here.
ain't kin folk, because
Black American here.
we sitting here trying to tell y'all, and instead of y'all being respectful about it, because we really know, we learning our history. No, I'm from the South. My family been here for generations, past 1790, and I got my documentations, and I also do have
Travel, bro.
indigenous.
Travel.
I don't have to travel for what?
So
I'm already here.
let the man let the man give his points. No, come on, let the man give his point. At the end of the day, you might not agree with him, but let him speak, bro. Come on.
After we don't let him talk. Africa. Go ahead.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And see, the truth is, Black Americans never felt this way. Like the way I'm talking to y'all now, we never even want to talk to y'all like that. We hate that we even got to do this to talk to y'all like this, but we got to, because enough is enough, and y'all being hella disrespectful. But we never intended for y'all to come over here and be our enemies, bro. Like, we never intended that. We never intended for y'all to believe every fucking thing that I'm so sorry. Y'all, we did not intend for y'all to believe every single thing that the white supremacists said. We did not know that y'all was going to really come over here and really assimilate with them. But that's what y'all did. And for the last 5 years, since the corona, since the 19, when people actually sat down and we started looking at the internet and we started seeing how other countries, other cultures really talk about us behind closed doors. And we was looking at this shit like, damn, for real? Like,
The
nigga, we was
internet's
all
not real, brother.
Oh no, it's very more. It's really real. We was in
Africans that live next to each other talk about each other all the time. It's like people living in the community. They gossip about each other. It's nothing new.
No, that's a bad rationalization. And you ain't gonna play that, Elvis. You know what happens with that type of thinking? We get the Congressional Black Caucus of the United States, where half of them are black immigrants, and they constantly undermine black Americans, and they push agendas that harm my people. So no.
So how would you replenish your numbers?
We're not gonna downplay.
Without Africa, how would you replenish your numbers?
What was the statistic?
What do you mean without Africa? We don't need
Guys,
Africa. Y'all the ones that need
Your birth rates are low. Your birth rates are too low.
May I?
What do you mean the birth rates are too low?
May I say something, right?
So there's a data point he said about the black
if there's
caucus
one,
is 50%. 50% immigrant. Is
If
that
there's
right?
one thing I can agree on,
That's not even
if
true.
there's one thing I can agree with,
Can we
if
fact
there's one
check
thing I
that?
can agree on,
Y'all go ahead
that
and talk, but can we fact check
Africans,
some of this
African
stuff?
Americans, or FBA, the FBA, the so-called FBA or African Americans, I agree, they will have to form their own group away from Africans who migrated to the US. The reason why I'm saying this is based on personal experience, and you look at the political, for political reason, for legal reason. I mean, in the UK, we have had African politicians who came from the mainland continent who have came to the UK and also currently working against the Africa or Black Caribbean or Afro Caribbean or people from the Caribbean who actually are children of slavery, who have, who are descendants of slaves, who actually try so hard to fight for all the civil rights, and make life easy for Black people in Europe. Then you have African politicians who came here in a one generation, all of a sudden, they side with the far right wing anti-Black politicians to erode all the hard work that they did to give Black people freedom and equal rights in this country. So, on that note, I agree that Black Americans should be wary of African migrants who migrated to America who do not share the same history, culture, um, also agenda to be bound into one umbrella, to work together. Because some of the African politicians, they have had bad track record. I mean, Obama in America is a good example of that. Obama, for me, Obama was no good for African Americans. He was no good for Africans in the continent neither. We are still suffering the legacy
Let
of the
me
legacy of
not to
Obama.
cut you off.
No,
Let me build on what
yeah,
you're saying to give you a practical example.
yeah,
Let's take the
yeah.
Somalis and
Guys,
where's that
I have a
Minnesota.
question. I have a question
Hold
for the
on, real
guest.
quick. Hold on. Let me build on what
You guys are
Afro's
deflecting.
saying.
Let me
This
ask
is
my
hold
guest.
on, hold on. Who has a question for the guest?
Me,
I have a
Zongo.
question
All
for the
right,
guest.
all right, ask Nakara your
I have a
question.
question.
Go ask Nakara your question.
Oh, so my question, like, considering like this whole slavery reenactment in Ghana has received a lot of displeasure, or like the topic says very tacky, attitude. Like, has has this reaction been communicated to the people responsible for organizing this whole activity, so that in the future maybe they can make the necessary, they can take the necessary corrective action, probably in the following year or future years or something.
Again, like I said before, I'm not close to the people who may or may not have anything to do with this particular thing. We are all just kind of commentating on it. I can't speak to that.
I
Okay.
can speak for her.
However, I
It
mean,
says 85 to 90%
however,
of the congressional Black caucus are
how,
African American.
However, based on what I was saying, however, African Americans should try and build some alliance with the Africans who migrated there, but they shouldn't build certain alliance in the US because the Africans who migrated to the US and to the UK are not in their interest. They are not working together. They are working against them. They
Facts.
are working to undermine them. You know, and this is causing more problem. And it's about time we Africans also admit that. I've seen that happening in the UK. Right now, we have a woman called Kemi Badenoch. She's not the only person. She's Nigerian, who I don't even think she was born here. She have eroded everything that the Jamaican and the Caribbean politicians have fought
No,
for in
she
the
hasn't.
UK.
She's a
She's
coon. She hasn't
fighting for it.
erased it. She can't erase
She's a
it. She
coon. She's fighting to
no, yeah,
erode it.
she's a
She is
coon. She
fighting.
don't
She's
represent
making.
black people. No, she
I
don't
was
Louis,
want
trying.
Louis,
that.
just wait.
I,
She is
I was trying
fighting.
very
Louis, just
hard
wait. She was trying to
to circle
erode
back to a point about
everything.
the Black
Black.
Caucus. You spoke
She,
on Black Americans, and you
yeah,
said that our Black
yeah.
Caucus is led by 50% immigrants. Was that you that made that comment?
No, that was me,
That was
Pastor King.
Pascal King, and he was wrong. It's not. It's
Yeah,
No,
he,
no,
85
no.
to
yeah,
90
It's
yeah.
percent.
He's not. He's
50%.
not. He's
Half of
wrong.
them, about half of them, are either black immigrants.
Not true.
Hold
Shut
on. Let me
up. You
specify.
idiot.
Half of
Man
them are
with
either
high
black
concept.
immigrants or first
Dumbass.
generation black Americans. Now
Not
you can
So
true.
you,
85 to
fact
90
check
percent
me.
are
can
African
I get
American.
No, they're
Period.
not. That is not
can I
Yes,
true.
they
can I
are.
be in this conversation
That
with
Not
is
y'all?
even
not true.
black,
It's
you
not
know.
no
Hey,
80,
am I allowed in
90%.
this conversation at all? All right. So
Yeah, you can. Of course, you're welcome, brother.
according to the Pew Research Center, Immigrants make up about 15% of the Congressional Black Caucus. And that's a quick search could pull up that information. When we're having diaspora conversations, I respect everybody's feelings and lived experiences. But we got to stop this thing where our emotional perspective of what's happening in the Black world overrides actual verifiable facts that we
Okay,
could
hold on, hold on,
pull
hold
up
on, hold on.
about
You want to say
Let
that,
him
right? So
finish.
it's
Let him
50%,
finish.
right?
finish
No, no, no,
talking.
no, no, no,
Fuck.
no, no. Let
I
me
mean,
let me
Let
expound
him
that some
finish.
more. You
bro,
know
African,
why?
you
Pastor
gotta
man.
let other people talk. Dang. Like, that's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
don't
every
let
diaspora
everybody, man.
conversation I get in, when we start talking about some real stuff that we really need to talk about, men, as black men, everybody, all the black men get emotional. We start talking over each other. We start silencing black women. We start silencing each other. And it turns into this back and forth about my country is better than yours. My group is better than yours. And that does nothing to uplift Africans or black Americans. When we're talking about black politics, which we need to talk about in each country, we need to have some type of fact checking going on in these conversations. Otherwise, what's the point? If we're going to get in and we're just going to give our black imagination of what's going on, I don't see how this is helpful to the diaspora.
I mean,
No,
also we're
Ghana,
sitting there bashing Ghana. What about Nigeria? Nigeria, where most of the slaves
Ghana,
came from. At least Ghana is trying to do, rightly or wrongly, Ghana is trying to do something. What about Nigeria? That's been totally muted. The so-called giant of Africa. What have Nigeria ever done? Even to actually open their mouth to say something in African Union or United Nations level. So, I mean, rightly or wrongly, we can blame Ghana or praise them, but at least they are trying to do something. Let's be realistic about this. But however, me, I totally agree with African American on this concept that Africans do not represent them in the West. They don't have the same interest, and this have been proven to be the case. And when you talk about Pan Africanism, it's actually a concept of black people in the West, and is a concept that also worked to help liberate Africans in West Africa who were still actually selling themselves as slaves, even when they was fighting to stop slavery, from the outside. So we need to recognize that us as African people, and we
As
were
as the
heavily
brother
involved
just
in the
as the brother just
and the
said,
transatlantic slave.
when it comes to
Mm.
decision making in politics in America, the Congressional Black Caucus is 85% African American. They're the ones who are pushing the
Yeah,
agenda.
Elvis,
It's not the Africans.
Elvis, yeah, Elvis, that talking point that the CBC is predominantly immigrant. I don't know why they bring that up. It's been debunked, but yeah,
Right.
it's annoying. Yeah, but
So
Can I
go
Africans
make
ahead.
are
a
not
comment
making
real quick?
political decisions for African Americans.
Hold on, Elvis. Go ahead, Nakara. Go ahead, Nakara.
Oh my God. So as I mentioned before, the fact that we don't have a lot of diaspora representation, again, I think is one of the bigger issues because it's not just within the Ghana government, it's also within like the US Embassy and other institutions, which is why I mentioned earlier about like the citizenship program that has most recently this year been finalized in a particular type of way. You guys have probably seen. I'm just sorry, I forgot my train of thought. I forgot what he was talking about because there was another point that I wanted to mention. What did Elvis just say? Elvis, what was your question
We're talking
before
about
you?
the African making political decisions for African Americans.
Yes. So I do think that, like with Ghana, right, when you become a citizen as a diasporan, you do have the ability to vote. However, we do not necessarily have the ability to be a part of certain political structures. So I do think that that is also something that, which is already on the table. They are currently trying to go back and forth about if people with dual citizenship should be able to be a part of the parliament and things like that. So I do think that that is a reasonable conversation, but I do want us to understand that, like, as Black Americans, our relationship with the U.S. government and not having, a great relationship with the U.S. government also plays a role in how we as Black Americans are being represented by our U.S. ambassador to Ghana, because the U.S. ambassador to Ghana is a white woman and has been for quite some time. So, so I do agree that is one of the things that a part of the list that I was mentioning earlier. That is one of the things that I think should be up for discussion. However, as I mentioned before on I think the last pod that we did with Dynast, I have seen Ghanaians have this conversation online about the Black Americans are going to do Liberia to us thing, which I think is really unfair. But I just want to put that out there that I do think that
Mhm.
it's one thing because I know people feel a way about people being able to be in our politics here in America, but just also understanding that we do not control that and all of that. But I do think that we as the diaspora should be able to play a role at least.
Yeah. Can I speak, Dynast?
Go. Well, let me pass it back to Passport King first.
Oh Lord, boy.
Oh, he go ahead, Passport King.
Yeah, let me address a point earlier.
Dynast,
First
you
of all,
spoken
even hold
twice.
on, can I finish my thought?
No, you're the man in high council, you fucking asshole. We know you're gonna bullshit.
Hey,
I'm
look,
not
look,
the
look,
Come
man
look.
in
on, let him
high
speak, Lewis.
Let
castle.
us speak, man.
What are you
Hold on.
drinking over there? Are you drinking some illegal African liquor
Okay, go ahead, bro.
or some fermented tree bark? What are you on right now?
All right, go ahead, Passport King. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me address this point that was brought up at least two, three different times as oh yeah, we got you because y'all own slaves too. It was mentioned at least two or three times about Black Americans owning and selling slaves. I've spoken about this before in a previous show, and this is well documented. Many of the Black people that brought slaves were buying their family out of slavery. This note, but see, they want to spin it like, oh yeah, Black people had these large plantations. They had other Black people working on it. No, they will go, they will make money and buy out a family member, whether it be a wife, husband, child. That was the majority of so-called Black slave owners, was purchasing their freedom for their family members. It's not what Africans were doing where they was raiding villages of other Africans and taking them around the tree of forgetfulness and putting them in slave castle to be transported. That kind of nonsense was not going on. So we're not going to play those
That's not
games
fully
and
There were
true.
lie.
black overseers.
Yeah,
So that's
oh,
not
yeah, no, no,
so.
no, no, no,
I'm
no.
a
You
Black
ain't gonna play
American. You're
those
misrepresenting.
games.
There
That's
were
false
black
what you just
Excuse
said.
me.
overseers.
What am I
So
misrepresenting? No,
so
you
so
There
in the
was
no.
Louis,
You have
levels.
to.
so
There
in
was
the
levels to
Louisiana
it,
Where's your
colony,
sources?
I'm
Where's your
answering you.
sources?
Okay,
All right.
I'll give you
bro.
yep, you can go to
Dijingo.
64parishes.org is a very reputable source for Louisiana history because we are Black Americans at this point in history, right? In a Louisiana colony, if a Black person had a child by a white man, that child could be free and that mother could be free. That race class of mulatto people who became Black American after 1865, after we all became Black American together as an amalgamation, several different distinct Black American groups, right? Those mulattoes became Black American, but a lot of them owned slaves and directly participated in the same system as white people. They weren't on the same class level as whites, but they were racially separated from Black people. Historically, now there are people like a lot of Black Americans descend from mulattoes. That's part of the reason why we don't agree on politics or how to do things, because some of us are masters' kids and have a completely different proximity to slavery, right? That's why you have some Black Americans online now saying all us weren't slaves. Some of us were freedmen. And freedmen is a very specific free man and freed men. Those are like two distinct things that get conflated with people that are actually descendants of mulattoes who are largely represented in like the FBA movement. A lot of these are mixed race Black people that partially identify with Blackness. Only when we having a fight with somebody, but not when we're actually building anything in the Black communities.
Excuse me. Where are these
That
records
was
that
a great
prove? Hold on,
insight.
hold on, hold on, hold on. No. You're gonna have to. You're gonna
I just made a
quantify
comment. You
this.
got the
Wait,
floor,
hold
bro.
on. No, wait. Stop. Where are these records that prove?
Passport. You got 30 seconds to ask your
Yeah,
question. Then
it's
me
not
to
giving to me
respond. I got
30
to pass
seconds.
somebody to Kidola. Go ahead.
Where are these records that prove that these mulatto slave owners existed? Where are these actual records, please?
Oh, in museums across the country. I mean, I could introduce you to some mulatto families here in Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. We go to New Orleans, we go to Lafayette, wherever you want to. You can meet them, the descendants of mulattoes. I know Black
I
people
got
right
some.
now. Like these people are
I got
related
mulattoes
to
in there too.
slave owners. Like they have dinner together.
Hold
Like
on.
yeah.
Too, bro. Because some of those mulattoes were actually mixed with with Indians as well too.
Oh
So
boy.
you really can't say
Some of
that.
them were. Some of them
And
were, but
then,
a
All right,
very small.
guy.
Na-
Hold on,
Native
one mic.
American.
Hold
Just to
on.
be clear, just to be clear, Native Americans make up less
The
than
host
like.
is talking. The host is talking. Me, do me a
Oh, yeah,
favor.
yeah.
Put your sources in the private chat, and then because I got to pass the mic. Go ahead,
Okay,
Kidola.
I got you.
Thank you, Dynast. I've been listening to this show, what Ghana is doing. I think
Nigeria already figured out a long time the blacks in the United States are different type of people. We'll be taking out to build economy like Chinese. We try to go back to what happened in the past. You have to remember slave trade or what happened in the past happened to the white man too. Russia is a slave country. Russia enslaved people too. All those East Europeans, they're all slaves to a lot of white Europeans, and majority of them even from Portugal. Chinese are under the British were demonized and destroyed by the white Americans and the British. But the Chinese are superpower. When you want to bring in people, places like United States, we have to do what we call proper color check. You can bring those somebody that look like Smokey Robinson type of tribe, like that guy that came and says Indian, because we have to know who are you really. Tell us who are you. Don't bring you to tell you're Indian that coming to deceive us you're being African. No. Well, we check your skin color, we check your DNA, we check who you are if you're really African or not. Because bringing these people in, like a lady that brought you said, no, they don't look like us. I'm Indian out of the blue in Ghana. After having a good time with young Ghanaians and was being battered in Ghana, now she, try to say things like, in there. Then we have to build what called special hospital to do what called cognitive test. So some of them, they're crazy.
Africans have its mulatto class. Don't forget about
It
that.
doesn't matter. Hold on. These you can't just be giving land to people you don't know who they are really. If you don't look like Michael Jordan or you don't look like Magic Johnson, you'll be chased out immediately. Immediately.
That's not true because you guys bleach. You guys bleach
No, he's
all
a
the time.
colorist, man. He's a colorist.
Because
all right, get on. You got 30 seconds. I pass the mic to Michelle.
Okay, yeah, because what I'm saying it, like Tony that just came in, Tony doesn't feel African, he feels more Indian. Then we have to respect that. Thank you, Dynast.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, good afternoon to the panel. Happy
Hello.
Father's Day to everybody.
Thank you.
Belated Juneteenth to everybody. Appreciate you, Miss Sister Nikki, Miss Griot, being on this panel to have this discussion. I think this is very important and very real. I believe there's going to be a petition on change.org in reference to the reenactment that happened in Ghana. To me, based on my little research that I saw about it, not long ago, people are reacting to it. I wish the Ghanaian government or whoever authorized it did a little bit more research before they decided to put this event on, or at least have that particular presentation. I really wish, Dynast, one day if we can get a place in Atlanta and have a formal discussion and have this discussion one-on-one, and please, like Mr. Elvis, Brother Africa, Merchant, we speak face to face. Like, this discussion is long overdue. Like, people will fly in from wherever. I know it's idealist, but we have to have the discussion because things are starting to get out of hand. Because I see it in my workplace. I see it I live in the DC area. I see it, and it's becoming profound. Again, we're not as bad as South Africa on that extreme, but I'm seeing it coming out in different ways as a global diaspora. Because I live in the DC area and I work in healthcare. And so these are very, very real concerns as if we're going to grow as a diaspora. And like my another issue with the brothers coming from the continent of the Caribbean, you guys now are here in the States or in the West. Your children are not going back to the continent, maybe for a 2-week visit, if that. Nobody's going back to the continent. So what's going to happen when they stay here? We need to start having real discussions about our future in the diaspora as we are living our lives in the West. Thank you.
All right, let me read these super chats. Usa Mahan World Fine 726. Thank you for $10 holla. The AU etc. has the narrative that foundation Black Americans were Africans until the 14th Amendment. False. We were counted 3/5 American citizens in the census since 1776. Yogi Fish 01. Thank you for $10 holla. The constant interruption on this panel is an example of what Black Americans are concerned with regarding external Black thoughts to Black Americans' unique concerns. You're interrupting us. Yogi Fish 01. Thank you for $5 holla. Blessed to our brothers and sisters of the Black diaspora. We aren't against you, respect you, and love you always. All right. Now, Kyra, anything else you want to share? We're gonna go ahead and start closing out.
Yeah, I just think that for me personally, I think one of the things that will always be disgusting to me is that when those of us who claim that we're on the same side of this Pan African experience and journey, it's just the way that we like engage. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to always have words for your quote unquote ops, but I think it's we have a lot of kinks to do. You know, I see in the chat people questioning if I'm Black American. I find that to be so disrespectful. Just because I don't think like some of you, how do you think that you can take away what my identity is, but then tell me that I need to fight in solidarity with you? It just doesn't really make sense. For me, I have built a 13-year relationship with Ghana. So unfortunately, like online personas is not really enough for me to throw that away. Are there things that Ghana absolutely like irritates the shit out of me, and there's things that happen that I'm like, let's talk about it, of course. But I mean, that's my relationship here in America. I think just being a Black person in general, it's a constant corrective status. So I know that a lot of people say things like Pan Africans put Africans above ourselves. I don't personally believe that. I don't do that. I just think that there's a lot of different ways that we can critique each other and challenge each other, especially, and let me make this disclaimer. I think when we are talking about Africa, especially, those of you who have no interest in Africa, it becomes unfair to have a conversation, right? Because if you already don't have an interest in Africa, you don't need to convince me how you feel because I'm not convincing you how I feel about it, right? So I just hope that like wherever people are in their journey, whether you are anti or for it, just also understand that like if we're going to be this Black community that we all know is not necessarily on the same page, a part of being in unity together is to still be able to help out each other whether we are on the same exact fight or not.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, good point.
Let me pass the mic to Tarhaka. Go ahead, Tarhaka.
Man, I was trying to get on a while now, bro. What is up?
You on now, Taharka?
You on now, Tarhaka? Yeah, that's all I can say. You on now? Go ahead.
All right, and I did wish you happy Father's Day today. I didn't get no response.
I was gonna respond to everybody because I got like 100 of them, so I was gonna respond before I went to bed. Go ahead.
All right, cool.
He left you on red, Taharka.
Yeah, the people that I wanted to reference, it looked like they left the show, but I didn't know that did they was it some kind of play that they put on? You said they reenacted. Was it a play?
Yeah, I played it at the beginning.
Yes, it was a play.
Okay, no, I didn't get to see yet. I got you know where I could go watch it, Dynast?
I saw it's on X. I just typed in Ghana reenactment slavery and it came up on X.
Okay, all right. So you can go ahead because I got to see before I could comment on it. So you could go ahead. Next person.
Okay. I mean that's it. Go ahead, Africa. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I do, thank the sister for coming on because the reality is we, Black people in the West, us Africans who migrate to America, and to the UK, we need to work with our African American brothers and what you call the Black British, or who are Afro Caribbean descendants, over here. Because the reality is these people been here longer than us, and I learned a lot from them. From schools, skills, culture wise, and they learned a lot from me being here. We shouldn't be afraid of each other. We know the history of slavery is really bad. We need to, find a common ground instead of arguing online and spreading hate between one another. I mean, look at what's happening in South Africa. If that could be the extreme of the situation that we could find ourselves in, in the West. We have loads of reasons to unite us and we have loads of reasons to divide us. So let's just work together. I mean, African people in general, they're quite tribalistic and quite divisive, before they go to the West. So they already have this sort of mindset So I actually advise the black people in the diaspora to be aware of that. So do not take them too serious when it comes to certain things and how they express themselves. And the people that have been to Africa know that better. So these people are highly divisive, and that's how they manifest themselves when they come over here. That's one of the reasons why they don't actually really mind racism. They can put up with racism because they've been dealing with tribalism. It's a cultural difference, and that's why I think African Americans and Africans are totally different, people in a different way. Even though we have high African descendant. You guys have, high level African descendant, but the culture is different, and Africans have to respect that. They go over
That is,
there, they live in a community, and they coexist. They should respect you guys, and I think that is definitely something that they shouldn't be ignored, because ignoring that can cause problem in the future. I pass
that,
the mic. Thank you.
let me just say this quickly, right?
No,
So,
I gotta read the super chat.
okay,
Say
read this.
James 56, thank you for $5 holla. I challenge Passport King to provide two names from the Congressional Black Caucus with West or Central African heritage. Go ahead.
Yeah, so those of us who are Africans who live in the United States, I live in a city outside of Minneapolis here. That is, if I could tell you, if I could look for a political organization that is led by African Americans, where Africans can join and be a part of a political voice, it's hard to find them. So when people talk about politics, most Africans have to find their own organizations, to help with their own diaspora groups, and maybe even have a political, leaning towards that group. But I'm saying it's not a national organization of political activism or political, packs where Africans who come into this country can be lured into or be, recruited into so that we can have one voice as Black people. So how do we allow African Americans to lead when it comes to politics when there's not an organization that's telling us, oh, hey, you just came from Ghana, you just came from Liberia. If you're a citizen, you can join us. This is what we're about. We're Black led. We're gonna, we're pushing for this political ideology. There's nothing like that. So we're just scattered, and everybody is for himself when it comes to forming a political ideology. African Americans don't have the organization or the political, groups to steer Africans to a direction that politically we can all coalesce around
Yeah,
and vote as a voting bloc.
Dynast, can I rebut
Elvis,
that real
that's a
quick?
good
maybe not
point.
Minneapolis, but they have them other
Dynast,
places, like New York
That's a good
here in
point.
What is
Atlanta.
it
They have
called?
other
What is it
places.
called, for
Dynast, can
example?
I respond to that briefly?
Yeah, that was director. Go ahead, Pastor
The
King.
Africa Center.
Yeah. No, let me respond to that briefly. Because I see this the problem with diaspora immigrants. Y'all think you know, but you are very ignorant of U.S. history. We have had many organizations who are U.S. slavery descendants, free men. Now some go by FBA, some go by ADOS, DOS. You know what's happened? Things like COINTELPRO, things with people getting assassinated. Whenever we get an organization, at first they just watch. And then when they start making moves, they start infiltrating, they start turning people get arrested, people die. So isn't it that, oh, we're helpless, we don't know what to do? Every time we get an organization that's effective, various forces, some usually it's the corrupt government, but guess what? It's unfortunately sometimes it be our own people. They get a sellout, and yes, sometimes it could be terrorists. That's why you don't see organizations. So guess what? It doesn't mean that organizations don't exist now. It means we adapted. It means that we figured out, okay, there's a reason why, and y'all hate this man because y'all think he's the boogeyman. But I'll say it real quick. Tariq Nasheed, y'all think he's the leader of the FBA, but FBA is a lineage. There's a reason why he says he's not the leader. It's not that he's a coward, because he knows that leaders get taken out. So we figured out, okay, we can't have a traditional organization in the way it used to be because they know how to crush that. We got to think and move differently. And I'm going to say this one final point. You think there's no organization? You know what just happened recently as of the Rick Child verdict, but it's actually bigger than the Rick Child getting away with the murder of that young teenager Cyrus from you know what in the back. There's right now a nationwide boycott of Asian-owned businesses in the Black community. At first, the Asians got online talking greasy, talking smack, but guess what? It's been barely 2 weeks. They've been online recently, but guess what? Now they're copping pleas. Now they're talking about we need to come together. It hasn't even been a month yet.
Tell us the political organization that African
Okay, I would
immigrants
like
can
to hear
join.
Hold on. Why do you see
Elvis,
that
I would like
shows
to
you
hear the
how
sister
limited
answer your question because I think
When he lands his plane, can I
Sister
answer you
Nakira,
directly?
can you answer? Yeah, Sister Nakira, can you answer Elvis' question? Because I'm really interested in that as well, please.
Yeah, so
If you may.
I was just at a conference for the Legal Defense Fund. It's actually separated from the NAACP, but the Legal Defense Fund was founded by African American Thurgood Marshall. Majority membership
Okay.
is black, but they also have participation from the diaspora. They very much
Okay.
recognize the diaspora. So if you go on their website or you reach out to the Legal Defense Fund, and the Legal Defense Fund they're separated from the NAACP because they handle the legal cases like what's going on with Carmelo. So they actually show up in communities all over the country and actually fight for Black Americans. They're also involved in Black immigration cases and situations dealing with ICE. So I actually met some people from Eritrea that were hosting a panel at the Legal Defense Fund conference back in New Orleans back in the fall, right?
We're talking about a
So
political group. Political
we're
group.
like a voting block. We're like a voting block. Like if Africans want to, align with you guys as a voting block, is that an organization where they can actually
Why,
work with you
like I
guys?
said, why can't we do it? We're a
Sure.
panel. We're a panel. We can
Yeah.
do one.
I want to clarify, the Legal Defense Fund is directly involved in Black American politics, Get Out the Vote efforts, GOTV. They align with organizations like Black Voters Matter. Cliff Albright is very much Pan-African. You know what I mean? Like these people, like they would be organizing your voting block. Matter of fact, Black Voters Matter, in addition to the Legal Defense Fund, they directly work with like Black immigrants, making sure y'all are represented, or if you are actually no longer an immigrant, you're naturalized, and you're now a citizen just like us, you have the right to vote. They definitely organize so that you guys are voting with us because you're still Black people, regardless of your citizenship situation. So
And
yes.
see, those
Okay. So
organizations,
there's some
man, let me
grassroots
point this
system.
out real quick. A lot of them organizations are very deeply tied with the DNC and Democrat. That's also
You know,
another
hold on.
reason
If I can interject, Pastor King, I was going to bring that up. That like Black Voters Matter. That's a liberal DNC organization.
Thank you.
That,
So
so
that's
that is
another
false.
reason why we're backing away from these so-called
So
organizations.
before y'all take over the panel,
We're
so
not holding the water for the
before you take over the
DNC
panel,
anymore.
Cliff Albright is not a Democrat or Republican. Never has been.
You ain't gonna play those games. No. You
So
ain't gonna
I'm speaking the facts.
tap
I'm
dance
not,
through
brother.
that one.
We
That
not women. Can
organization is a
we not
DNC
can we not go back and forth with each other? Can we
Yeah,
be men?
but Meech,
talk?
Why do you have to refer to women in that way?
the host is talking. The host is talking.
Why did a man have to talk over me like repeatedly 5 times?
The host is talking. The host is talking. Like so Meech, I'm on Black Voters Matter. I'm on their Instagram page. It's all liberal, far left leadership that's on this page. So I hear you, but
yeah, there's no such thing as liberal far left leadership in the Black community. That's disingenuous historically.
you're being disingenuous by saying that.
Thank you.
You're being ahistorical. You're being ahistorical by saying that. Literally.
Is there a conservative organization that is recruiting Black people, Dynast, that we know about for Black conservatives?
Okay. So y'all are Black
But see, that's the
conservatives.
problem.
No, I'm a liberal.
See,
I'm just
we don't
asking
have to be
Dynast.
conservative.
They have different ideologies.
Y'all moved the goalposts. We was talking about Black. Now y'all talking about conservative. These are non-partisan organizations I just named. They do not have a political position with a party.
I'm looking at their page. They are definitely left. They're definitely DNC leaning. It's a DNC leading organization.
They are not DNC leaning left. Like
Yes,
you're looking
they
at their
are.
page.
Just
Read the
Black
page.
Vote
Read
Matters.
it.
That's DNC. There was another one called
Black
Know
Voters
Your
Matter is not
Representative
DNC.
or
You're
Black
lying.
Vote
They don't
Center.
make you vote Democrat.
Hold on, stop. Hold on.
It's a nonprofit.
Meech, hold on. I'm on here right now. They got Roland Martin on here. I mean, come on, man.
There you
What
go.
does that mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Roland Martin is a conservative Negro. I just talked to Roland Martin like 3 weeks ago.
He took the bag from
Oh,
Kamala
man,
Harris.
He's a multi-generational, wealthy Black man. This man has never lived in poverty. What are you talking about? Roland Martin is those.
Are you crazy?
Like I don't even know what y'all calling left at this point. Y'all some outer space Negroes.
They're leftists, they're liberals, and then they're centrists.
Why are you calling Black people left?
Roland Martin is more of a centrist than a leftist. A leftist is different than a centrist.
I'm Black. I don't know what y'all are. I'm Black. Black people have Black politics. It's not left or right.
Multiple times after the Democrats have lost elections, when the very next day Roland Martin was on camera
Brother, we're
crying.
having a
Literally
national
crying about
debate.
them losing.
Brother, we're having a national black debate about voting rights for black people. That's
Hold on,
not
hold on,
right
hold on,
or
hold on.
left.
Okay, okay, okay.
We're
Hold on,
having
hold
a
on. No,
civil
no,
rights fight right now. What is wrong with you, Negroes?
The host is talking. The host is talking. Is would you consider Joy Reid on the left?
Yes.
Okay,
Joy
Joy
Reid,
Reid is
isn't she an
on.
immigrant? Isn't she an immigrant?
Joy Reid is on. No, she's not an immigrant. She's born here in America. Joy Reid.
Oh, okay. What's her lineage?
This is from Congo.
Okay.
No, she was born here in America.
Her father is.
I understand her
She's first
citizenship status. I didn't
generation.
ask her citizenship status. I said her
But
lineage.
the point I'm making is Joy Reid is on this Black Voters Matters page, front and center. So I mean, come on.
She is black.
Yeah, black voters, Don. That's not saying vote a Democrat. You can be a black
Right.
voter and still register and
What
vote
are we doing
Republican.
right now?
These
What
organizations.
are we doing right
Okay,
now?
so let me say this: Are they going to have Candace Owens on here? Are they going to have the in Florida the guy
If
that's
she
running for
wants
governor?
to be.
On here? What do you mean she wants to be?
She can be on here.
No, dude, they're clipping pages and just putting it on here.
It's for black voters, Don.
They don't need permission from Candace Owens to clip her on here.
Hey, can we have some data real quick? So what percentage of black voters vote Democrat or Republican? Can we just start there?
The majority vote Democrat, correct.
Okay, so if we're mobilizing with black people, irrespective of what their political party is there not going to be an unintentional overrepresentation of Democrats in the room if we're talking to Negroes in large black populations that are majority Democrat districts?
There you go. You see, you got it.
But again, you're proving. So then you're proving my point that this is a DNC organization.
No, it's a black organization.
No,
it's just that black people are just Democrats by a large percentage. That's all it is.
And we're Democrats because of the '64 Civil Rights Act. Do you know what the Civil Rights Act is?
I'm very, very aware.
So you know about the party switch when black people only became Democrats because of civil rights, not because of left leaning, not because of socialist utopia, because they passed the Civil Rights Act. That's the only reason. They have policy. If we talk about policy, it doesn't matter if we talk about Democrat or Republican. I supported Republicans that were on board for prison reform and Democrats that were on board for prison reform because my goal was blackness. Prisons disproportionately affect Negroes. I don't give a damn if it's a Republican or a Democrat. Republicans supported legalization of marijuana. That affects black people. Guess what? I support those Republicans on marijuana, as well as the Democrats that support marijuana. I don't
you vote on issues by issue basis. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
Who has the best policies
Don
in
is the black.
Africa?
Don is the black conservative. Just know that.
I can tell that is the conservative. I can see that.
No, I'm no party, and I'm friends with Republicans.
I'm not liberal. I just do what makes the most
Okay.
sense.
You vote by issue, yeah?
I'm friends with Republicans. I'm black first.
But what I'm saying is a lot of these. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. What I'm saying is a lot of these so-called black organizations are not black first.
And I'm calling cap.
I'm calling
cap.
And that's the problem, Dynast.
But Dynast, you know, when you get in that booth, they can't make you vote anyway. You vote the way you want to vote when you get in that booth.
Diplomatic by calling them left. They're DNC
You know who's not black first? Black nightclub owners are not black first.
Let's tell the truth.
Black rap artists are not black first. Black celebrities are not black first. Black podcasters are not black first. Half the Negroes got a white woman at home.
Hey, that is the black podcaster. You say he's not black first?
Rap artists are not in Congress making laws. So you just babbling. If you're going to go that far, talk about black garbage men.
I'm saying the black community is whitewashed as a whole. But the goalpost is moving because our black community is whitewashed. There's no aspect of black professional life.
You got two people in the panel. You got to pass the mic. You got invisible man.
I think everybody's smoking, but go ahead, Nakara. You can add to this. We definitely got to close on now. Go ahead, Nakara.
I'm not really sure what the conversation is, so I mean, I'm not sure what the debate is about. Are y'all still talking about organizations?
Who holds our best interest, the Dems or the Republicans?
That's not the conversation.
We weren't talking about that. I was answering the brother's question.
As far as Africa goes.
I was asking the brother a question about organizations that accept Africans and and then some people inserted their bias and turned it into something else. But
Right.
that's what it
Wasn't
was.
biased. It was calling out the truth that the groups you mentioned
I
was
was
doing serious
asking the question,
crimes.
Nakara, if there are organizations that Black immigrants can get into and have Black Americans steer them politically, because there's this accusation that Black Africans immigrants don't like to vote with African Americans when it comes to politics. So are there organizations that's recruiting us, to join them so we can have a political unity between Black Africans and Black Americans?
That's never gonna happen. We got
Mr.
different
Elvis, may I ask?
agendas.
Can I ask
That's
you a
you.
question?
I was
Go
asking the car. I was asking the car.
Go ahead, Nakara. Go ahead, Nakara. Now pass it to Michelle.
Do I personally know? No, because I don't do political organizations personally, because whether you are independent, Republican, Democrat, I think the bigger question is kind of like, why do we need a voting block for people to know what to vote for? Because the reality is that both times that Trump was in office, he implemented a either Muslim ban or an Africa ban. So if that doesn't matter to people, then hey, that's for you guys to kind of decide. I'm not really, but again, as somebody who went to an HBCU, particularly Howard, there was a lot of, I went to the African Studies department for my master's degree program. So there's a lot of African people in that department, majority. In terms of political organization, I don't personally know any. I'm sure there are. I just kind of don't understand why it's necessary. I'm not done talking. I haven't interrupted nobody on this panel. I'm not really sure why it's necessary. I think I would be more interested in, like, when you guys are coming over here, right? What is your goal in America? Just like how we as Black Americans are asked the same thing, who go to Ghana and go to these different things. We're asked, what is your goal, right? And then that's when we have to kind of like do the research on understanding what the locals want in the particular place that we are. So I think that, like, relying on organizations to kind of do the work that we could do on our own, I think has kind of been a part of the problem, because a lot of organizations, again, still have some type of bias to them, whether it's religion, whether it's political ideology and those types of things. So me personally, I feel like Black immigrants should probably do a little bit more in actually being a part of the things that already exist. Because if we keep doing this thing where it's like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, but we're ignoring the things that already are, right? I don't really understand why we need to keep kind of like reinventing something that still isn't really being done on our own. Because as we just seen, people have their own, some people are Republican or conservative and all those things. And I don't even understand how that's possible as a Black person or an African person. So that is on y'all, depending on what y'all care about. Like I said, there has been a Muslim and African ban with this administration twice. So I guess that is something that is liked. So yeah, I can't. That's all I gotta say on that.
All right, go ahead, Michelle. Then we got to.
Yeah, I like to pick it back off Ms. Griot. The concern I have, we don't have an economic power source, and I think once we have an economic base and a power source, then the politics and the other social needs will all fall in place. We don't have a power source like China, like the Koreans. They all have a power source, and that all guides what they need for their diaspora. And because of what has happened to us historically, I don't want to go into those details. That's why we have not been able to create the needed power source and that base that we need. So it guides us in all those realms of life. And again, like I said, this is a good discussion. Again, I wish I had the resources and the power to actually take this to a whole nother level. But, all this back and forth, we do have to identify when you, when you move a person and their family system into another place, another jurisdiction, under social geopolitics, you are going to naturally change the culture and the transition of that person or that group in that community, and that has to be respected, whether you like it or not. Those of us from the main continent or not, that has to be respected, and we need to have some guidance and reference to that. And because we don't have that base of a power source, that's why I think we're finding ourselves in constant disagreement. Thank you.
Hey, can I say something? Dynast?
Go ahead, Mr. Man. We got to close out.
Okay. I was waiting for somebody to say what Nakira said. and I think was over talked, but she was saying I think she was about to say, why can't we do it on this panel? What's stopping us?
That's Michelle that said that.
Oh, that was Michelle. But so I agree with Michelle then. And if we're going to get bogged down in the political politics, then we're not going to go anywhere. If we get bogged down in some CIA conspiracy theories, we're not going to get anywhere. We just need to create the organization. I know people who brought together every single Caribbean nation up to Detroit, and business got done. There was no politics involved. So I agree with Michelle then.
All right,
Thank you, Invisible Man.
All right, Nakar, we're going to go ahead and close out. Anything else you'd like to share in closing, and how can people get in contact with you and follow you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dynast. So you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Griot of the Diaspora. I also have my website, griotofthediaspora.com as well. And that's pretty much it.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dynast, Amir, search for Huru. Peace.
Again, happy Father's Day, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.